I work with people that have witnessed murder, incest, rape, abuse. The trauma is never about what happened. It's always about what you made it mean. If we can get to the point where you can see that that event brought up a constraint that you probably had even long before it, that put you on a certain path so you can resolve and dissolve it, then you can actually see that whole process as something that was a major benefit to you and would ultimately have a major impact on the world. The cause of suffering is believing a lie about who you fundamentally are. This is where the conversation of God and beingness kind of comes in. If the only source of all suffering is believing a lie about who I am, your identity gets clarified in the presence of God through Christ, because he said, you can do whatever you want. I'm going to unconditionally love you because I know who you are.
Most of our modern lives are spent completely disconnected from the natural world. Artificial light environments, concrete, rubber soles on our feet, non-native EMFs everywhere. We have totally immersed ourselves in a completely unnatural world. Getting outside and putting your feet on the earth is actually vitally important for our health. And that's why I've worn Earth Runners for years, especially when I'm out in nature, whether I'm on a trail, hiking, fly fishing, camping, or just spending time outside at an event like Confluence with the earth beneath my feet. Earth Runners are minimalist sandals that are especially great when you're out in a natural environment. They have a wide toe box and a flexible sole that lets your feet spread, grip, and move naturally on uneven terrain, whether it's trails, grass, sand, or dirt. Instead of restricting your feet the way most modern footwear does, they allow your feet to engage naturally with the ground and move the way they were designed to do in a natural setting. What also makes Earth Runners unique is their conductive grounding design, which allows your body to reconnect with the Earth's natural negative charge while you walk. And as I've discussed on a variety of podcast episodes, negative charge is essential for your body's energy production. If you value getting outside, reconnecting with nature, and moving in a way that your body was designed to move while on natural surfaces, check them out. Head to earthrunners.com or just head to the show notes and use code FORWARD10 at checkout for 10% off. Again, that's FWRD10 for 10% off your order. If you're ready to rewild your health and walk in deeper alignment with nature, then check out Earth Runners and feel the difference from the ground up. Okay, Brandon Bozarth. Can I call you my old friend now? Because we've known each other for 5.5 years.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
That is so weird.
It is wild, huh?
It seems like yesterday.
I know.
But yeah, 5.5 years, man.
Remember when I beat you in arm wrestling? You would destroy me right now. You would destroy me right now.
I don't know that I would, man. Like, you're very like Scottish Irish nature. Are you Scottish Irish?
Yeah.
Dude, you like, you have massive forearms.
Oh, thank you.
You're meant to carry hay bales.
Yeah, I love
hay.
You
do that?
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah.
With your steer?
Yeah, with the steer and Brenham. Yeah. If they're not mine, I'd have to steal it. But
you're saying off camera that he no longer calls them cattle. He calls them steer.
Yeah, Californian turned Texan.
Yeah, love it.
So, and livestock.
Yeah, livestock. So today we're going to get into a lot of German New Medicine related topics, but also cover ISI, which Brandon will share what that is about. It has to do with the actual resolution of conflicts. I'd like to open this conversation by just sharing something real quick, though, related to German New Medicine, because I think my comments on a video several months back kind of rubbed a lot of German New Medicine people the wrong way. So as many of you know, my longest episode that I've ever recorded on this podcast was with Dr. Melissa Sell. It was 4.5 hours, and it was a freaking deep dive into German New Medicine. It was amazing. And then afterwards, Daniel Reutas, who I respect tremendously and actually agree with what he's saying here, commented that there's still no scientific validity for GNM. And I went on his post because a lot of German New Medicine people were commenting, and I said, I actually agree with Daniel. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but I just want to clarify here. Just because something has not been established scientifically, and by scientifically, I have a very strict term for that, something that has been validated in accordance with the scientific method, right? And I've done multiple webinars and presentations on this, so I'm not going to belabor the point on that, but that's my definition of something that is scientific. Now, when it comes to German New Medicine, it has not been validated via the scientific method. That is just what is true. That's the truth. But all that to say, and this is what I was going to say, that does not mean that it is not useful. That does not mean that it does not have the ability to have a positive impact on your life and your understanding of symptomology. I probably wouldn't be having the conversation on German New Medicine if I didn't think that it had a lot of validity. In my own life, in my own direct experience, it's had so much validity. Like, I would say in the overwhelming majority of symptoms, if not all that I can think of that I've had, are exactly lined up with the purported conflict that GNM says is associated with that symptom. Now, with that being said, when we're looking at something like brain scans and saying, oh, that proves that it is this conflict associated with that symptom, speaking strictly empirically, that is no different than saying, oh, there's bacteria at the site of illness, therefore the bacteria must be the cause. What I'm getting at is yes, there is a strong correlation between brain scan, symptomology, conflict, 100%. I know you'll want to share your experience of that because you've actually looked at someone who's analyzing the brain scans, the CT scans specifically. With that being said, though, that can only establish correlation. Is it, upon all accounts of people that I know that are very deep into GNM, like an incredibly strong correlation? Yeah, absolutely. And with that being said, that does not mean that it is scientifically established. So I just wanted to share that, because if we're going to say that GNM has been scientifically established, that would actually lend credence to something like virology or bacteriology also being scientifically established. But then we can say on that hand that they've not demonstrated causation, right? Obviously, virology is a separate category. It has so many other issues. But you see what I'm saying there, right? I don't know if you have anything you would like to add to that.
Are you finished?
I am finished.
Yeah. So it poses the question of, can we prove anything using the scientific method?
No.
Inside of the body without being inside of the body and being able to actually see and witness exactly what's going on? Or do we have to remove it from its natural environment and now we're not, accounting for all these other variables? So the question is can all we look for is a consistent correlation? Is that where you have to be okay with specific in terms of the internal processes of biology? Because now we're getting into like these categories. So it's like, am I searching for, what level of truth am I searching for in biology? Am I looking for what's mechanically happening, or which I might never be able to isolate and tell exactly what it's going to be? Or am I looking at, okay, there's going to be strong correlations here that point to a deeper truth, and that's what people feel intuitively. That's what people are, I think, especially in German medicine, their conviction comes more from an intuition than from them studying all of these brain scans and going, I absolutely know, because most people aren't doing that.
Right.
So I think most people are saying, it's true in my experience, and there's an intuition there, and the biology is revealing a deeper truth that is not necessarily germane to the physical level of reality or, biology.
Yep.
And that's a little category error or just a little confusion on, why do I feel so strong about this? And of course, anything could become a dogma as well. But I would agree with you, the correlation. I've yet to see, now I've only looked at maybe 20 to 25 CT scans.
Yeah.
One of my mentors who worked with Dr. Hammer, and every single one but one, he could tell them their health history to the T. I mean, he could range certain symptoms and resolution and epicrises down to the month. And I'd watch these people be in awe, like, oh yeah, at 12, I did have a mini heart attack and heart pain, and I had to go to the hospital and da-da-da. And he'd just sit there and a little smile like, yeah. And then this happened and this, and they're mind blown, right? But then there was a couple, one that stands out is this woman who everything fit. The whole history of her, number one, the conflicts in her psyche, right? The DHS, that fit in terms of the theme, conflict theme. And then the physical symptoms or the conflict active current symptoms. They all fit except for one. And we spent like 15 or 20 minutes and he's trying to ask questions. And I'm kind of sitting here, I'm like, oh, he's finally going to be wrong. Like what's going to be the conclusion? Are we going to have to like rewrite the literature? Like what's going to happen here? Is like the saint, Dr. Hammer, going to be wrong? Like, because this is going to happen in GNM, right? It's like Dr. Hammer. And he's great. But again, so we're like 20 minutes in and he's really trying to fit this conflict and these symptoms into her experience, almost asserting like, you must not remember them. Like this is true. And that's where I also get into like now we're in a dogma because now we're asserting a truth with no evidence just for the sake of it. Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm watching it unfold And we kind of get to this stalemate where it's like, no, nothing, this just doesn't fit. It's like, where's he going to go? It's like, I'm eating popcorn. Me and all the other like apprentices are, and he's just like, And then she finally goes, but I did start birth control around that year. And he goes, oh, and so that would have changed the conflict in the territorial and the temporal lobe from one side to the other because her hormonal switch. And then everything lined up and that would affect a totally different organ. So he's like, oh, that's why that organ, it was this organ. And then I did have that symptom and it all perfectly fit. And so, yeah, the correlation in my experience I've not seen in terms of brain scan and the interviews I haven't seen one exception, including my own CT scan. And so that's enough for me to go, okay, there's probably something
See,
good.
And that's what matters most, man, is your own direct experience of it. And that's like, for me, even because there is an element of being cognizant of your own beliefs actually impacting how things play out in your own physiology, right? So like, if you have a strong belief in GNM, I would imagine that could possibly exacerbate the validity of GNM, if that makes sense. But with that being said, I've had multiple experiences where I did not know the specific conflict associated with the specific symptom that I was having. And then I go look and I'm like, oh my God, this is incredibly accurate, like spot on actually. So, and then the whole thing on, can you do science on the human body? Like, no, I don't think you can. And that's the irony in all of this. And I talked about that with Jordan Grant recently. I don't think that the scientific method can actually be followed. And then it brings up a lot of questions regarding what can we actually know? And then in terms of government policy and things like this, like, should they ever be able to violently impose any measure, mandate associated with anything that's purported to be scientific? Absolutely not. Like that's a whole separate conversation though, where I want to take this, because it'll relate to resolving conflicts, right? And really healing is belief, right? So when you come to the conclusion that the scientific method can't even really be followed, and the reason that it can't is because you can't control for all of the known variables already, namely the strong probability, if not, I'll just say strong probability that the human psyche actually plays a role in the outcome of whatever the human psyche is observing.
Yeah, and you can't isolate that.
And you can't isolate that. You can't control for that. And then there's also all of the variables that you can't know that you also can't control for. And the only one that can possibly know is the architect of this reality, which I would like to call God, right? So the scientific method can't be followed. And then speaking in terms of epistemology, I've said this before on a number of episodes, the only thing that can be proven with 100% certainty and conviction is experience happens. Some will call that I experience, but that presupposes you know with 100% certainty that there is a distinct I. So experience happens is the only thing that you can know. So that has led me to the conclusion that, okay, this reality is overwhelmingly a reality of amalgamated belief systems, meaning like our belief systems individually also overlapping onto reality. And then it brings up questions regarding the nature of this experience. And like, is it malleable to the degree that if a crap ton of people all believe something fundamentally will actually change some physical thing in reality? Where it leads you ultimately though, is like, okay, the most important thing that we can do is dissolve our conditioned belief systems. Great. Now, going about doing that is a whole separate thing once you get to that conclusion. So that's where I want to go with this. And I think it leads into the perfect question. What is ISI and how did you develop it?
Yeah. Well, you just reminded me of a story that I haven't thought about in probably like 8 years. I'll just say it briefly.
Yeah.
Man, I don't even remember why I was here. I was in some gathering of, these are like professors and therapists at a university.
Yeah, why the hell were you there?
I honestly, I don't remember. Honestly, I look back, I'm like, why was I there? I just stumbled in. I was looking for the bathroom. No. And I went to the bathroom in my seat. No. So I'm going to have to get back to you, like add an edit at the end why I was there. Because now that's an existential like mystery. It's like, why is this even real? No. We tangent on that for an hour.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I remember listening to the speaker and they came to this conclusion, right? Okay, they have this whole context of what creates human suffering, reducing it all the way back down to essentially core beliefs like self-concept. And that's end of presentation. So they define the what. This is what is causing it. And I'm looking around and I've already been developing ISI at this point. It's not to where it's at now, but it was already there. And I raise my hand and I go, okay, great. So how do you do it? And the professor right at university goes, well, if I knew that, we wouldn't be here. And I'm sitting here like, I've seen hundreds of people dissolve these core self-concepts and like have a liberated, a transformed relationship with their spouse, with their kids, with their health. What are you talking about? And I'm in like this prestigious institution that thinks they like just discovered the Holy Grail, but the how was completely missing. I remember walking away from that being like dumbfounded. Like, these are the professionals, the ones that are getting the degrees. It blew my mind. So I digress back to your question. What is ISI? I'll start by what it's not, because that's helpful for me. It's not a modality and it's not a technique or a tool. And so it's not asserting what's true. It's not a technique to solve a problem. So it's not problem solution oriented. And it's not a set of practices to change your state or to release an emotional charge. I put all of those in the managing your symptoms and psyche category. Things
Why is that?
Because they're not changing the identity, the core of what you most strongly believe to be about, what you most strongly believe to be true about yourself, which are fundamental I ams and I am nots. They answer the question, who am I? What is God? And what is the nature of suffering? And if I know the nature of suffering, I have to know the nature of fulfillment, joy, happiness, freedom. Because when I know one, I know its opposite. And so that cascade, your belief system, everyone's, is already informed by these questions, by your answers to these questions. If I get into a breathwork class and I have a massive emotional release, that's great. But the identity is the thing that informs how I see the world. So if I give an example, if I believe I'm fundamentally not safe and the world's not safe, and let's say the origin point was at 5 years old, and I like to use the DHS criteria because it's very helpful. Everyone has them. So there's a moment, isolated, overwhelmed, powerless, caught off guard. Maybe my mom abandoned me, leaves the house, doesn't come back for a few years. This actually happened to one of my clients. And my story in that moment, unbeknownst to me, no choice of my own, preloaded, turns on. There's no experience of, I'm 5. What would I like to make this mean?
Right.
It's faster than lightning. It's just on.
Instantaneous meaning.
Yeah. So then that gives us the question, did it originate in that point? Or did I come in with it? Is it pre-chosen? And if I have free will on this plane, which I would assert we do, but it's not black and white. There's a destiny and a certain, so is it destiny or free will? The answer is yes. There's a paradox there, but that's a separate whole deep dive.
I want to revisit that though.
Yeah. But I would then assert, then if at the core of my being, human being, I am a soul, or we could even just say beingness itself, that on that level of reality, there's also free will. That it's true free will is not reserved for a part of creation. It would have to be the entire thing. And so I would say anyway, that's more of an ontology. Where does that constraint come from? Where does that belief or that identity, I'm not safe, come from? It doesn't ultimately matter in terms of resolution, because what matters is how to dissolve it, how to see through it. So
that's a really important point.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people in various healing modalities in the healing space are so concerned with getting to where that belief comes from. And it's like,
you can't know.
Yeah. Even getting to the initial wound. It's like, I was a 1.5. I have no idea. I have no idea how my psyche handled that situation.
Well, the thing is the original wound is here right now. I mean, that's where it is. Because if it's unresolved, it's still in its original state right now. It's just been on repeat, right? So when we go to past or future, we're typically just bringing up what's already here in a more exaggerated sense. Because now how my body placed that in the unconscious, I know, don't feel that, that's too scary. I'll go back to the memory, and I'm already skipping ahead into like the how.
No, it's all good.
But I'll go back to the memory, just to bring out the unconscious through the subconscious, ultimately into the conscious. And what that essentially means is my identity, the first bleed through, because I'm not sitting there 24/7 thinking, I'm not safe, I'm not safe, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy. It's in the background.
It's in the background. It's not even words. It's not even words. It's more of like a subtle feeling.
Exactly. It's like a tone that you're so used to.
Yes.
Like a song, and you forget it's there. Like it's like white noise.
Yeah.
And everything's forming around that. And so the first bleed through, like when that gets pinged, touched, triggered, or in G&M, we might call it a track, but when that gets triggered, the first bleed through is your emotion. And this is like a window into your unconscious mind. So we want that emotion to come up. So I'll take people, I don't have to take people to the past. We don't ever have to find the origin, but I'll look for some moment where it was turned on or reaffirmed, the identity, I would call it like a false identity, just to bring the emotion to the surface, because that's going to start luring that context, that identity out, right? So regardless of if, before this life, if you're seeing it from a more spiritual, metaphysical perspective, I chose certain constraints to be revealed to me in these moments of trauma. That's one way to see it. That would affirm we're in a victimless kind of experience. Or that moment of trauma was the origin point, and because of my conditioning and priming that has nothing to do with spirit, soul, beingness, parents, mom, dad, society, authority figures, how I've been primed to see the world, and this is actually step 0 in inquiry, is what's your priming? I will automatically, at no real choice of my own, create a kind of self-definition in a moment of trauma, because I'm still forming an identity, 0 to 7. It's like, who am I? What's true about me? What's true about the world? And so we go through that kind of like narcissistic phase, which is really just us becoming an individual. And so we have to internalize these events. And so if I grew up with parents that both believe they're not enough, and they have a bunch of evidence, and I watch that being modeled, oh yeah, I'm not enough because this person's more successful than me, this person's body, whatever it is, I'm going to learn that's evidence that I'm not enough. So all it takes is a shocking experience of something that I've already seen. And now, boom, that context turns on and I start to live it out and play it out. So regardless of the origin point, what inquiry does is it's not release your emotion. It's not change your perception. That's when a lot of people think, oh yeah, we have to just change your perception. Well, perception.
Why does it not change your perception?
Well, because think about I'll take it back to the example. Let's say I'm 5 years old, mom leaves, gets in the car, drives away. What happened in reality without my story?
Mom left. Literally just the act of mom leaving.
Walks, opens door, sits, closes door, drives. Yeah. That's reality, right? My perception is I've been abandoned. She's abandoning me, right? Now, depending on what that feels like will tell me more about the identity that's alive there, that's informing the perception. So let's say, I don't know, what would it be? Maybe, what would you, sadness, fear?
Fear.
Right? Yeah. Say there's fear.
Unworthiness.
Yeah. Yeah, so unworthiness. So let's go with that, sadness. Mom drives, mom walks, sits, drives. I'm being abandoned. Well, if my own mom is abandoning me, what must be true about me in order that I would feel sad about this? Because the sadness, so we have the identity that's then producing how I see the situation, how I'm perceiving it, what I make it mean. This is the unconscious. That's producing how I feel about it. And then that's going to produce how I physically respond. And then this is where a whole persona adaptation turns on. I'll never get abandoned again. So now in relationship, if someone leaves for too long, doesn't text me after 3 or 4 hours, I'm now feeling the same thing that I felt at 5. It's affirming that I'm not worthy. And then what do? I chase them. I try to hold on. That pushes them away,
which
creates more evidence.
Yeah.
And so it keeps going. And I just go, now I just got to find people that are not going to leave me. And by virtue of searching for the thing that they're trying to avoid happening, they create it. Mm-hmm. And so you create evidence over time, and that literally ends up, that widens and deepens the neural pathway, and you just are on autopilot living inside of an identity that's not true, that was formed in a shocking moment.
I get it then. So it's not the perception, because the perception is informed by the core identity. So we're not working with what the perception of the event is or the perception thereafter. It's getting back to the core identity that created the perception. So in this case, what would the core identity, like this is obviously not a genuine example, but what would the core identity have likely been in a case like this, just as an example?
So mom leaves, I'm abandoned. If my own mother would abandon me, this is where, as the practitioner, really the end result of good inquiry is your ability to listen. And listening is a full body experience. It's not a mental activity. It's, in fact, the absence of mental activity. It's presence, right? And so being able to listen for that sound, because word is just sound, we're looking for the sound that is also agreeing with their body. And so there's going to be emotion on it. And so this is the integrated somatic part. We can't stay in their mind. If they intellectualize it, then there's going to be no emotion on it. Probably this or that. They're trying to get it right? So they have to be really honest and willing and wanting to change, right? So the identity, I'd ask first, what is the emotion and I'll exaggerate it temporarily to really bring it up. So if your own mother just abandoned you, so I'm agreeing with their perception, I'm in their world,
you're
right?
affirming it, you're really helping to draw it up.
That's right. And I'm having them be in the scene and completely re-see the whole scene. I'll say, if there's sadness there, if you're sad, then what must be true about you in that scene if your mom abandoned you? What has to be true about you? And they might go, well, I'm just worthless. I don't matter. And maybe they say, I don't matter. And their whole body's like, they really start to feel, there's this whole cascade of recognition. That's what happened in that moment. That's the contraction. That's the constraint. So I don't matter. Maybe they'll start crying a little bit, right? And they'll start releasing, because in the moment, we typically don't do that as children. We just override it. We cope. We don't sit there and go, oh yeah, I remember being taught how to process my feelings and emotions and question these beliefs. We just adapt. A program turns on, a switch turns on, and we go, okay, now I need to cling on. Maybe it was my fault. I need to be less emotional. I mean, we make some decision that goes against our being, like negates our being, our authentic self. And that becomes who we think we are. That becomes our persona in the world. So until that core context, and I use context and identity as interchangeable, is discovered, you can't change all the downstream effects. That pattern that we talked about is just going to keep going, because all beliefs have to create continuity, or we couldn't have an experience. And so if I'm believing in one moment, I'm Brandon, I'm a human, and like that's known, I absolutely know that. And then the next moment I'm like, I'm not a human, I'm a giraffe. I couldn't have any continuity. Be like, wait, what do I do? Who am I? Right? So they are self-perpetuating by nature. So this is the very first step, and this is typically the most challenging part of inquiry, is getting to that scene and finding what is that context? What is the identity that formed or was revealed to you in that scene? And then we start the inquiry. But that you can't move forward with inquiry until you find that core identity, because if you just questioned or started to work with, I'm abandoned. And this is what I see a lot. I was abandoned. How did you feel? Not safe. Okay, my job now is to teach you how to feel safe. So now we're affirming that you weren't safe in that scene. And I'm not saying people don't feel unsafe. That's real and true. So it's not a gaslight. They think what they're thinking and feeling produces the physiological response of not being safe.
Their perception was true, was genuine, but it's not the ultimate
exactly
capital T true is what you're saying.
But what was the cause of that feeling of a lack of safety? Was it the event of mom walking, sitting, driving, or was it the identity that turned on at no fault of your own that said, I don't matter now, and how that felt and who you became? What was the actual source of you feeling not safe? And we'll always find it's never what happened. It's always the context you have around what happened.
What about, just to push back a little bit? I think I know
it's radical. You get it. It is.
I get it.
So I want this because a lot of people are gonna. What about? Yeah. So yeah.
Now I'm gonna give you a few.
Give
maybe one. What about, like in the most extreme case? So let's say you're a kid who just witnessed your whole family be blown up by Hellfire missiles in the Middle East, and they're destroyed, and then you have your arm blown off. Like, for me, I could totally see where in that moment, and even like now today, like No, that literally did happen to me. It wasn't just about my perception of a situation. This caused physiological harm to my body that is now permanent because I'm missing my arm and my whole family.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah. I mean,
take it to the extreme. Take it to the extreme.
Yeah.
So
it was about as extreme as you can get.
It was just your face at the end. It caught me. So this is really good. I was really hoping it would go here. Mm-hmm. Does physical pain create trauma?
Let me answer that. No.
Because it has to be yes or no.
No, it does not create trauma.
Your
perception of the pain creates trauma, it was just really fucked up to say because.
But it's also what frees you.
Yeah, it is actually true at the core. It is the perception of the pain because there's a reason there's countless examples of people being able to mentally turn off any pain receptors by getting into deep meditative state or like.
Well, even without all that effort, we notice sometimes we're in pain, we're in a really intense headache. Someone calls us a good friend. We look at the phone and just for a moment, we forget about the pain. Oh, I love this person. Let me talk to him. We put it down. Oh wait, I remember I'm depressed. I'm in pain. Oh, and it intensifies and it literally relieves the moment our attention wasn't on it. So you've hit your funny bone. You've broken bones in sports. I broke my collarbone, right? Do you have a narrative that's this traumatic thing that's altered and changed your life? Was it really painful?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So pain in of itself, if my context isn't, I'm unsafe and now the world's unsafe. I don't matter. I'm worthless. I'm nothing. I'm bad. I'm wrong. I'm evil. If I don't have any context around, if I'm wrestling a friend and he accidentally hurts me, and then, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Let's go to the hospital. And my context is, yeah, my arm's broken. It hurts, but there's nothing I can believe that would say I'm fundamentally unsafe or I'm bad, wrong, unworthy, or I just can't believe any of that. This was just an accident. Then I just do the next most responsible thing that anyone in that situation would do without the fear, without the trauma that now puts that on a loop. Was it intense? Yeah. Did it hurt? Yeah. But I don't ruminate on it. So if I ruminate on it, I know an identity was formed. If there's no rumination, it's just what happened. It comes and goes. Pain comes and goes as part of the human experience. But if my context in the same situation was, oh, this guy secretly wanted to do that. He's been against me my whole life. And now he finally got his chance to hurt me. Now I can't trust anyone. And if I can't trust anyone and people want to hurt me, that must mean I'm unloved or unsafe. And so if that identity formed, for some reason, I'm going to keep, well, not for some reason, for that very reason, I will keep ruminating on the event, but it has nothing to do with the event. Same exact event, two different interpretations. And there's no hierarchy here. That's the teaching, ultimately, is there's no hierarchy of trauma. So those rules apply with someone that was ritually abused. And I've worked with people that have witnessed murder, incest, rape, abuse, physical abuse, extreme neglect to the point where they're cutting themselves trying to get attention and go in your room. Like really intense cases. The trauma is never about what happened. It's always about what you made it mean. And when I say you made it mean, I'm not saying you chose it. So where the ego goes is it wants to blame out and then blame in. So we don't do any of that. When the blame has nowhere to point, it can be liberated. And so no, you don't choose it. There's a priming there. And if we can get to the point where you can see that event brought up a constraint that you probably had even before it, long before it, that put you on a certain path so you can resolve and dissolve it and now live without it, live in the absence of it and start to experience what life is like in the truth, then you can actually see that whole process as something that was a major benefit to you and would ultimately have a major impact on the world, because how many people are really consciously taking on that hero's journey, right?
Very few.
So it doesn't matter what the thing was, I'll still have compassion and empathy. It's like, that's horrible. Sometimes I do session, just tears are flowing because I'm like, I can't imagine that level of pain and suffering. This is maybe what we'll get into next or later, but the mechanics are still the same. And when you understand the mechanics, especially as a facilitator, you'll feel incredibly empowered in those moments, because it's what I noticed before inquiry is like, oh, I need to treat this person special. They have a special kind of trauma, right? This thing happened to them and that's different than other people's trauma. But when you understand the mechanics of resolution is the same for everyone, There is no hierarchy.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the mechanics. Yeah. Actually, before we get there, and maybe this is better suited to discuss later, the examples that we brought up so far are relatively trivial in that like it's pretty clear the initial conflict, but I'd imagine it becomes a little bit more challenging when it's identity creates a perception related to an event that informs now a new belief system that you've adopted that then leads to an additional trauma of a different nature that relates to another belief system. And it's just layer upon layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of belief systems over and over and over again. Is it a little bit more challenging than to get to the root when you're having to deal with multiple at once?
So it would seem like it, but there's only maybe 20 core identities in the English language.
Okay.
Because we only have so many ways of describing this like feeling of fear, sadness, whatever the descriptor is.
Yeah.
So it's the I ams and the I am nots, right? I am not enough. I'm bad. I'm wrong. I'm alone could be it. That's usually accompanied by a different context because we always feel alone when we're in like a, I'm not enough. I don't matter. I'm not safe. I'm blanking on some others. But there's pretty much a finite, with everyone I've worked with, they're kind of in this range. This is where you see at the core, we all got the same stuff.
So these are the identities.
Yes, these are the core identities.
I am and I am not statements.
So it gets, yeah, exactly. The complexity happens in perception. So that's identity. And now all of a sudden,
so you don't even have to worry about that as much.
No. So I look at the perception. Identity. Oh, okay. So if your perception is the world is unsafe, what does that say about you as an individual? I'm unsafe. You can have the most complex perceptions of the world possible, and I'm just going to have the same exact question. Great. If that's true, what has to be true about you personally? And that's where we have to work.
Wow.
That's how you cut through it.
Okay.
Because I don't need to, I'm not in the game of changing perception. When the false identity dissolves, and this is where God, the conversation of God and beingness kind of comes in, you experience yourself in the absence of a lie, and the lie, the deception, this is the story of the garden, is the root of all suffering. So to answer those questions, what's the nature of, let's say, like happiness and freedom and suffering? The cause of suffering is believing a lie about who you fundamentally are. Not just, if you said, oh yeah, that water over there is actually vodka and I believe it, I'm not going to suffer. Well, I believed a lie, I'm not suffering. I have to believe a lie about myself that negates the truth of who I am that I did not create. Because I did not create my own being. If I go to my own experience, I didn't put being into Brandon, but I know in the absence of a lie, there's always everything that I'm looking for, because the lie convinces you what you're looking for is out there. It's in an object or in the world. And the more you're smiling.
Well, because are you familiar with the neti-neti principle?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that reminds me of.
It's the process of negation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I love that because it describes the ontology of being and the nature of being. Inquiry is the active process by which we have a direct revelation of going from veiling our being to re-experiencing or remembering our being. Inquiry is just the process in time and space of going, okay, I feel I'm veiled, I'm disconnected, and I need to see very specifically for me and my psyche and my unconscious, what's in the way of resting back into the presence of God. Because I would assert our being is shared with God. I'm not the creator of being. I don't have that in my experience. So this is where it's like, yeah, we're all looking for God. That's what that means in my ontology, right? And so what's back to the deception piece, because I just want to nail this question, is if the only source of all suffering is believing a lie about who I am, and that lie causes me to negate the truth of who I am, so I have this negation of what's true, then it means the core or the cause of fulfillment or the location of fulfillment, happiness, freedom, the things we're looking for, is in the truth, right? It's in the absolute truth of seeing or knowing or experiencing who I am. Now we have a framework where we go, okay, so if who you are never changes, right? It's like I'm 5 years old and I'm hungry. I'm 10 years old and I'm thirsty. I'm sad, I'm angry. Well, the I that I'm pointing to is never changing. There's a beingness to me that has never changed. My body, my preferences, my emotions, my thoughts, my feelings, they all come and go. But there's some background, we can just call it being, the background of being. It's like a computer screen. Right? You have all the little apps and the things changing, but the actual screen itself is being. If being itself contains those qualities, Well, that means there's nothing I can do to gain them. There's no level of information that's going to give me freedom. Let's just use freedom as the word to encapsulate all the different properties, things like beauty, love, right? So freedom, no level of information, no level of achievement, no level of status, nothing material. Literally, there's nothing that can give it to me because it's already given. That's the power of Christ too, saying, no, you already, like I'm just the reminder of who you already are. Your identity gets clarified in the presence of God through Christ because he said, you can do whatever you want. I'm going to unconditionally love you because I know who you are. And so if I can't get those things, then any modality that's trying to teach you how to be safe is asserting that your being, the core of you is not already safe. If they're asserting you need to learn how to become confident, they're asserting that that's not a characteristic of who you are at your core. They're actually perpetuating the lie and keeping you in suffering. And that's the spinning wheel effect you have in the personal development space.
There's so much of that in the personal development space.
This is
wild.
Why I talk to so many people. Oh yeah, I've spent $100,000 on healing. I probably spent like 50 or 60 grand over the years until I had this experience, which was initiated through Christ, but then unpacked over my experience simply because this is my passion and we're going to pursue that unless we lie to ourselves and suppress it. So it's just in this discovery, it was like, no, if I ever think safety's out there, any characteristic of my being depends on me changing circumstances, then I'm a victim to my circumstance. And that's actually what's informing my state of being versus the other way around.
Which is so it's such a flip on what we think reality is presenting us.
Yeah.
Because it's so wild when you have the internal state of feeling that you're lacking something. So you're always seeking more of it. It's just perpetuating that you lack something. And that is such a wild flip.
I see it a lot in the nervous system world, not to pick on them, but I'm going to pick on them.
No, let's go into that. Like, I was going to bring up is there a place for somatic?
There's a total place. See, and I think this is like a Chinese proverb or something, and I'm not going to butcher it, but it's something about having everything in its right place, not negating anything. If it exists, it probably has a right place somewhere, somehow. And so the nervous system work is, if the presupposition is your nervous system is out of whack, and now it's your job to put it back in order. Your worldview is such that it's your job to put things in order and they're not already in a perfect order. And that's a big responsibility. It's kind of like playing God. Okay, I need to put things in order. Look at a forest. Does it need your help? No. We can steward. We can help facilitate natural processes, enhance what's good. Sure. Just our presence in our natural state is going to enhance, right? Our urine and, how everything is recycled just by us living there. It's going to do it naturally. But if you now have to correct the mistakes that your nervous system is making or the overwhelm in your nervous system versus understand why it's overwhelmed, bring understanding to why what you must be believing to be true about you in the world, that would put your nervous system into a highly intelligent response that doesn't need to be fixed. If you don't approach it that way, you're saying, in order for me to be safe, it's my job to create that safety. And so we're the split's happening. We're saying, no, safety isn't core to me. It's not something that doesn't come and go. It is something that comes and goes. So as long as I have my practice to create it, I'll feel safe. So that's your condition. That's where you're not free. So as soon as you can't do your practice, you're not safe. So is that true safety? I would call it bondage and anxiety with temporary relief. So what's a good use for nervous system work, in my opinion? Yeah, when I'm really overwhelmed and angry and I don't know what else to do, then do a nervous system practice. But don't stop there. Inquire, work with someone or inquire yourself. What was that core belief? What was being affirmed about you as a person in that scene? I'm not safe. I'm bad. I'm wrong. I'm alone. I don't matter. What was it? Start to see if it's true, because the mechanic is very simple. It's like opening, if I believe there's a monster in the closet, as long as I don't look at it, the monster is real to me. It's in the closet in my psyche. And it's going to convince me, no, it's too scary to open that closet. Don't look. As long as I believe it, the fear is going to sustain itself. This is the fear of fear. If I decide to open it and turn on a light, and as I say, it's really dark in there. First of all, the light and the dark don't battle. There's no battle. It's just instant light, right? I don't have to say who's going to win this time. There's no such thing. As soon as I see that there's not a monster, that what I was believing is a lie, it has to leave me. I don't get rid of it. I don't surrender it. That's a misnomer. It's a fallacy. Surrendering isn't an act of the will.
It's a natural byproduct.
It's a natural byproduct of no longer going to choose to believe what I thought was true.
Yeah. Not even a choice though. It's like an instant revelation of like what is false.
That's right.
And that's why I brought up, just as a quick aside, the neti principle, because it's such a beautiful way of like, in this context, you don't have to practice bliss. You don't have to practice unconditional love. You don't have to those are all natural byproducts of having dissolved that which you are not. That's the key here. And that's why it's wild, because it also resonates on the epistemological side of things, of trying to figure out like what's true in reality by falsifying via the scientific method. It's weird. The parallels are crazy.
Yeah. But on that point on surrender, one revelation I'll have through inquiry is I only can't surrender something because on some level I think I need it or believe it's actually true and serving some purpose. And so the psyche operates as, I'm going to move in the direction of what I believe is in my best interest. And that could be in your interest of survival and safety very often, but it could also be for things like to feel love or to feel connection, right? So whatever the context is, your psyche's going, okay, whatever I'm choosing to believe has to be in my best interest. And that seems not to make sense when we think, well, how is believing I'm not safe in my best interest? Well, again, let me back up a little bit. There's kind of two paths here. Number one, we're completely unaware. So it's like that song in the background that's just running. Let's say, I'm not safe, I'm not safe, I'm not enough. It's just running. You can't change what you're not aware of. That is what a true habit is. I'm not even aware I'm doing it. It's just happening. No choice yet, no conscious choice. Once you become aware of it and you see that it's not true, now we're getting into the mechanics. The Achilles heel is it doesn't make logical sense. And you know this with fallacies. When you discover a fallacy, can you accept it anymore? Is it even possible? No, it's impossible.
No.
If I, again, call you a giraffe, you couldn't with conviction go, yeah, that's absolutely true.
Right.
So because our psyche, our mind is intelligible, we have the capacity to understand something. And therefore, once we fully understand something, we can go, oh, I can totally stand behind that and accept it. I have an understanding. The same is true for the opposite. If I see something that fundamentally doesn't make sense, I can't hold on to it anymore.
Give me an example.
So an example. So if I believe, okay, I'm not safe. I'm fundamentally not safe. I might, let's say the practitioner is taking me through inquiry and they might say something like, okay, let's go to a moment where you were truly unsafe. Like loudest moment of I'm not safe or I'm in a lot of danger. And let's say I go to a moment where, and this happened to me, my father and my brother were arguing. He was going through like drug withdrawals and not getting a job. And my dad was very angry and yelling. And my dad's like a 4th degree black belt and can be very scary. And I think my brother either was high or on withdrawal. And he's like throwing shit around in the kitchen, kind of like trying to intimidate my dad. I might be 8 years old. I run into my bedroom. I start crying and I'm screaming, stop, don't do this to Brian. I was like defending my older brother, So I look at that and go, yeah, I felt really unsafe. Totally in that scene. I'm in my room crying. They're screaming. They're throwing things. I'm unsafe. I'd have to first, I'm assuming that this facilitator helped me identify that context.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'm unsafe. So once I find it, I have to slow down to the actual frame itself. Because how inquiry works is we work with one moment at a time. We almost like freeze it like a photo. Okay, let's take the absolute proof your psyche goes to. What is that moment that has the most danger and fear? I'm not safe on it. It's like, let's say it was when I heard the first yell. So okay, freeze that moment. I'll get into it and I'll just start going through the questions. Okay, in this moment, first I'll typically feel. So I'll feel I call this immediacy. So immediacy is, let me be with what's immediately present now. And so I'm just putting my attention with no intention. So I'm not trying to change it, control it, heal it. I'm just saying, sadness, fear is here. And I'm just watching it. I'm just letting it. Sometimes it comes up and it intensifies. Maybe there's a release. Sometimes it just comes up and comes down. So we're going through this process. We're coming back to the body quite a bit anytime there's something there and just letting it do its natural movement instead of stifling it. So I'm in that scene, and the inquirer might say, or me doing it to me, I would say, I'm not safe just in that moment. Is it true? And again, we established with the ontology, it's either a lie or it's true. One sets me free, one doesn't. So my answer has to be yes or no. It can't be maybe, it can't be kinda. Ego lives in the gray zone. So I'll look in that moment, okay, just in that moment, not a future, not little boy's brain, 8-year-old brain going, what could happen to me? This is never gonna end. Am I gonna be hit or attacked? All of those are thoughts about a future. They're not that actual moment. So I'm getting really still. I'm really slowing down, and I'm just going right in that scene. I'm fundamentally not safe. Is it true? And I can only work with that scene. If I can see that it's not true, because look at the scene. Loud noises are happening. I'm having a belief and a thought and an emotional response. I'm not safe. But besides the thinking, the feeling, in that scene, am I safe? They're yelling. Does yelling mean everyone around them has to be unsafe? This is where you can get into what I call the evidence. How loud do they have to yell for someone to be unsafe? Is there a certain pitch, a certain tone, a certain frequency? You could start to see the ridiculousness of your mind believing, yelling is fundamentally unsafe.
Or what if they're yelling in a happy way? What if they're reenacting a scene?
Exactly. How many times have you been around yelling, but your context was different? Oh, I'm at a basketball game. Yelling is fun. Yeah. It's like same exact thing, different context. So once I see in that scene, okay, besides what I was making it mean, a no fault or choice of my own, I actually was safe. So see, instead of trying to learn how to create safety, go find it or get safety, which I might spend the rest of my life doing, I realized there was safety right there in that scene. It never left. But it was overridden at no fault of my own, no fault of theirs, by the identity that turned on in that moment. And now I'm seeing that it's not true. So mechanically, I can't believe it anymore. I can't experience that scene as proof that I'm unsafe. I can start to re-experience that scene without I'm unsafe. And that's the famous question. Peter Crone asked it a certain way. Byron Katie asked it a certain way. It's, well, without that thought, or in the absence of that identity, how does the scene change? What's there? And if I couldn't believe I'm not safe, I might just see them yelling, see that they're both in pain, afraid, angry, and I still might go to my room. But I might just play instead. Or I might just, I don't know what's going on here, so maybe I'll just go in the other room. Do I feel unsafe there? Do I feel isolated and alone? No, it was a choice. It's a totally different experience. It wouldn't be considered a trauma as soon as the context is seen to be untrue. Now, the only exception to that, and this is really important, and this is utility. This might open up a whole new tangent we can go into. Utility says, even if I see that it's not true and that makes sense to me intellectually, and my body still says no. Okay, I see that's true, but still feels like...
That's where my mind just went.
Yeah, like I need to hold on to this. Well, that means for some reason, holding on to I'm safe and living that out in your life. This is the question, who do you become when you believe you're not safe? What do you do? What are your behaviors? What are your habits? How do you treat others when you feel like you're not safe? Well, I'm not too vulnerable with them. Well, as soon as they get angry, I shut down. Oh, I fawn, right? So there's this whole way of being. Now, if you think for some reason you need that, right? There's a utility. It's going to protect you from something even worse. Well, if I don't do this, I'm going to be absolutely alone. If I don't fawn to these people, they're not going to want to be my friends. I'm going to be alone. And that's going to mean I'm worthless. So if holding on to I'm not safe keeps me safe from feeling worthless, you see, I'll fight for it. And I'll say, no, I need to be unsafe. Because actually letting that go, telling people how I really feel, right? Telling the truth, being really honest, walking away from that relationship is way scarier than just holding on to this belief and fawning. So I need it. So we're never going to let go of something we think we need.
How do you do that then?
You have to realize, this is so funny because in Inquire, we laugh a lot because we end up laughing at ourselves. It's also a sign you're resolving. The thing about utility, now this brings us to the crux of inquiry, which mirrors Christ as well, which you'll see, which is paradox. So the center of inquiry, I created this diagram, and the center is paradox. You have to see, is that a Celsius, by the way? Okay, I was going to say I might have.
No, this is a shameless plug here. This is Life Cider.
Oh.
Yeah. Life Cider with paraxanthine in it. Pretty good.
I have to try some of that.
Actually, I have another one.
Yeah. Well, I can get it
when we get a break, yeah. Okay.
So paradox exposes the lie of our identities.
Okay.
And it makes it harder to grasp on and hold on to them.
Okay. Got it.
Because remember, either we instantly see through, that's not true, it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Gone, healed, whole cascade of emotion, physiological response. The glue that might be holding multiple DHSs together, which is the identity, can resolve healing phases. All of that by just seeing, making the unconscious conscious. This identity I thought was true is not true. Therefore, I don't need to fawn, fight, free. I don't need to do those things. And I'm actually safe. Program's off. Unless there's utility. No, it's too scary for me to heal. You have to see that what the utility is promising you, which is usually safety, is actually the only reason you're not feeling safe.
So ironic.
So it says, no, you need to, think about this example. Oh, I'm not safe. I need to feel I'm not safe because if I don't fawn to these people, I'm going to be alone and isolated, and that's going to prove that I'm worthless. But every time I'm with these people, I end up now feeling isolated, alone, and worthless because I'm fawning to them and I'm not even there.
Hey y'all, I'm here with Melissa Kupsch from Remedy Academy of Homeopathy. We are so stoked here at The Way Forward to be partnering with Melissa and Remedy in order to spread the message of homeopathy across the world, and also to partner on the eventual development of healing centers across the United States.
People are pretty quickly coming to realize that frequency is the future of medicine. We are witnessing the great resurgence of homeopathy right now. We're really moving away from that suppressive medical model, whether it's for eczema, asthma, hormones, fertility, anxiety, depression, trauma, whatever it is, it all starts as energy in the person's field first. If we change our field, we can completely change our life. Our 2-year academy is open worldwide to anyone who wants to become a homeopath. We've got 5 lecturers and we currently have over 500 students enrolled, which is record numbers in our field. A career in homeopathy is amazing for anyone who wants flexibility in their work and who wants to be valuable in creating this new world. We have stay-at-home parents enrolled. We have ex-medical professionals, grandparents signed up who want to learn how to heal their grandchildren and pass on that invaluable knowledge. We even have husband and wife teams. So my husband enrolled in the course with no prior knowledge of health as a background, and he is loving it.
Kylie is also enrolled as well. So my partner is, and she's so stoked to become a homeopath and to be helping to spread this message across the world.
The thing that we hear from so many of our students is, I found my thing. Homeopathy is the key. We harness frequencies from nature and we alter the field of all creations. So if anybody wants to join us or they want to know more about it, they can visit our website.
Yeah, and all that information will be in the show notes. So if you want to learn more about Remedy Academy, also Remedy Collective, also some of the homeopathic products that they have, please just head to the show notes. All of that will be listed there. Or just the subconscious, you've constructed an entire identity for yourself as an adult off of whatever this identity is, and that is going to completely flip your whole paradigm.
Totally.
I bet that's less of a conscious thing that people say, but it's subconsciously that is scary because this would necessitate major change in my relationships and all in my amongst my coworker, everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything.
And you have to, at least I notice it's more effective in the inquiry session to bring understanding to all of that, to start to see, oh wait, why has it made sense for me to hold on to this? Actually, what has it given me? Oh, it's given me a perceived sense of safety. I won't be alone. I actually need to blame, complain, whatever it is, to connect with this group, and it helps me avoid being alone. But then what you have to see is that behavior is making you feel alone, because now you're blaming, you're not yourself, you're fawning, and every time we do that, we feel alone and isolated from people, even if we're in the same room. Mm-hmm. And so they have to see that the utility is actually creating the thing they want to avoid and that they don't need it. That's the mechanism. Oh, I actually don't need that. There's no use. It gives me nothing but pain. As soon as they can see that, I go back to the question and their body won't have the fight anymore. So the fight is always the utility. No, I need this for some reason. All right. As soon as oh, I don't need that. Oh, now I can drop the need for this context. So can I say, can my whole body say it's not true? Yeah. That's how you know they're there. You have to listen to the body. And I might have to go back, a couple sessions, because the body's going to have all this evidence that, no, I actually need this. That's too scary to let it go. It's too much of a change. Something bad will happen. And until all of the utility is gone and they see that they've just been creating the thing they've wanted to avoid and there's no use, they just drop it. And it's not like they're doing the dropping. They're not holding a belief somewhere in their psyche doing the dropping. It leaves them effortlessly. There's no nothing you have to do. It's just people will say it's like a weight off, right? Or like a aha.
I want to go back to the example of the kid having his arm blown off.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
And talk about the mechanics of that a little bit, because I feel like let's say that was an incredibly traumatic experience for that kid. Obviously, in most, if not all cases, it's going to be, right? Loses his whole family, has his arm blown off, right? What do the mechanics look like there?
So why don't you be the kid? And we'll just demonstrate it.
Yeah,
okay.
Okay.
So I'd ask you, okay, so go to the moment that was most traumatizing. What was the scene? What was the scene with most emotion, most sensation on it?
Hearing just after the Hellfire missiles hit my house and the house was in rubble, hearing my mom scream. And that was the last time I heard my mom's voice. At the same time, I looked down and my arm is all mangled. So
I'd say go to that scene. Now and we have to get really granular here. What was scarier? What was the emotion? First of all, was it terror? Yeah, terror. What was more terrifying? Hearing your mom scream or your arm seeing that your arm was blown off?
Hearing my mom scream.
Okay, so be right in that scene. I'd have him close his eyes. Okay, she screams. You're in terror. Okay, if she screams and you're in terror, what must be true for you in that scene?
What must be true for me is that I am incredibly unsafe.
Yeah, okay, so be right in that scene. And let's test it. Just in that scene, mom screams. Just in that scene, is she alive? Are you alive? Okay, so be in the scene. I'm not safe. Just in that scene, is it true? Not in a future, not with what's about to happen, not what could happen. That's not that scene.
See, this is where I could see where it'd be really hard to reconcile given the gravity of that situation.
Well, now we have to get into, and sometimes I'll leave inquiry to get into definitions. So what is your definition of safety?
Safety is feeling, okay, let's say safety is being alive and having all my needs met.
So in that moment, you're alive. Do you have all your needs met?
I'm missing my arm.
You need it?
See, this is where it gets into the, do you truly need that? What do you actually need? I see where this is.
Well, see, here's the thing. This is your definition. So I'm now in your world.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm not telling you what safety is.
I'll say authentically as if I'm this kid.
Yeah.
I need it. I need my arm.
Yeah, so
I need my mom. You need
your mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm not safe because my needs aren't met. What don't you have in that scene that you need? Mom and arm? Okay, in that scene, is your mom alive? Okay, so your mom's alive. What do you need from her? Do you need her to be closer to you?
I need her nourishment to know that the world is okay and the world is safe and she's gone.
So let's say this is an adult now, right?
Yeah.
So I want to acknowledge, and this is going to be very painful, that up to this point, you've had this belief, now we'll find the identity in a moment, that says the only way I can know that the world is safe and peaceful and is okay is if I have my mom. And you haven't had your mom since then. So what has life been like since that belief turned on, that this is the only way I can know the world is safe and that I'm loved, as if your mom is here and she hasn't been?
I feel unsafe. I feel unsafe all the time. I feel like I don't have nourishment. I feel like I'm looking over my shoulder at all time. I feel on edge.
Yeah. Does love and safety come from mom?
I feel like a part of me wants to say that it does, because that's what I know that a mother's role is, or something like that.
Yeah. And so are there going to be moments even with people that have moms that don't feel safe and loved? So how can your mom guarantee love and safety? Can she ever make you feel always loved and safe? Is it possible?
No. Not possible.
If you give her that job, she's going to let you down, even if she was alive now. Your job is to make me feel loved and safe. Who do you become in your relationships? Now I'm going to guess, you can make it up. that in your romantic relationships, you need your wife or romantic partner to be a certain kind of way, maybe a motherly figure, to know that you're loved and safe.
I become very extractive.
Yeah, so what is life like? If you want to, because I'm not going to change your belief, but if you want to keep this ever since that origin point, that's scary and terrifying. But now what hurts more is the 25 years of suffering since then. And that's what we're illuminating right now. So if you want to hold on to, I need my mom. Why do I need her? Because she's the source of love and safety. What does that have to say about you in terms of you being loved and you being safe if your mom is the one to give that to you?
That says that I'm incapable of experiencing love and safety on my own.
Yeah. Another way to say that is I'm not loved and I'm not safe. So then I would take them back to the scene and we would find in that scene, am I loved in that scene? Or I'll do it this way. I like to look at the negative. Is it true that just in that scene you're not loved? No. Maybe I'd find other scenes because it's a slightly different context. We were kind of in a I'm not safe territory, right? Yeah. So I might find different ones. And I'd look back and I'd really get him to look in that scene. Yeah, your arm is blown off. It's painful. Yeah. Your mom is in physical pain. Does a limb being removed, like you're alive, yeah? In that scene, do you have everything you need to be alive? Yeah. Okay, so without the thought, I'm unsafe, and the feeling, all of the emotions, all the chemistry that's happening just in that moment, right? Because this is where, and I might explain this on the call a little bit, I'm either alive or I'm not alive. There's no such thing as dying. Think about that. That's a concept in time and space that we never experience. We never experience it dying. We are alive or we're not. So this is where really getting granular with safety. Yes, I'm in a lot of pain. My mom's alive. She's yelling. She's in pain. Does pain mean you're not safe?
No.
So see what I'm doing is I'm assuming, because I've done this so many times, what his evidence would be.
Right.
And I'm kind of bringing his attention to it. Does pain mean you're not safe? No. Are you absolutely sure right in that moment that you're just fundamentally not loved as you are, just in that scene?
No.
Okay. So there's no lack of love, even if mom is in pain. There's no lack of safety, even if you're in pain. So I'd keep taking him back there. And, any objection is just where we're going to take the inquiry to kind of test, does that make sense? Is it true? And we'll keep bringing it back until he can stay in that scene. And if there's any genuine pushback, you do it. No. But just be in the scene now with no future scene, just that one. I'm unsafe. Yes, you're in pain. Yes, mom is in pain. But just in that scene, are you safe? Or I'll put it this way. Is it true that you're fundamentally not safe just in that moment?
No,
you're in pain. Let's just go to what happened without a story. Right? There's no deer that gets bit and goes, I'm unsafe. Then it leaves and keeps saying, I'm unsafe. No, it just reacts and it can start grazing the next moment and doesn't ruminate, right? So same thing. What happened? A lot of pain, mom in pain, mom died, and you no longer have an arm. Now what's going to create the suffering is I no longer have access to love and safety because my mom is gone. And I'm fundamentally unsafe because I don't have a limb. I don't have what I need. I'm unsafe. And then he's going to create proof of that for the next 25 or 30 years. And you see, that's the source of the suffering, not the event.
Yeah.
So once he unvelcros those two things and go, oh, those beliefs and assumptions that I didn't even choose, I've been living, they've been a context for my life. Everything in my life is now reinforcing that context. And I can actually question and change that. I can't question or change what happened.
So you don't even have to go back to the root trauma.
No, because they're going to keep repeating it. I need any repetition.
Yeah. So my point is, so for someone who knows something happened when they were 2 years old, but they don't know exactly what it is, they're still going to have lived in such a way that they're repeating that story, that original identity and the perceptions associated with it over and over again. So you just have to find whatever is associated with it to revisit.
I'll still take them to a memory just to bring it to the surface more, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
But it's not required because we're dealing with identities, and the identity is here now. And it's the identity that is here now that is creating the version of the past that you're relating to and the version of the future that you're anticipating. So when you're believing I'm not safe and I ask you about your history, you're going to give me a bunch of evidence. When I ask you about your future, you're going to give me a bunch of things you want to avoid and that you don't want to happen. So I can take you to any of those just to bring it to the surface more. But what's wild is when you release the identity in the now, the person experiences an entirely different past, which means they have to now have an entirely different future because they're not driving in a car, looking in their rearview mirror, trying to avoid what happened, which creates it again. They're actually opening to an infinite possibility and inspiration and curiosity, where previous it would just be desperation and anxiety. And you're in one or the other.
What prevents people in that exercise, let's say, who go through the full thing and get to that actual conclusion, right? That they are safe, they are secure, like all these.
Because it's even beyond I am safe. It's because sometimes that could be a jump for people.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm safe. So I'll put it this way, and it's actually more powerful if you get it. I've never been unsafe.
Yeah.
That's the identity change. You see, I've never been unsafe.
Yeah.
If this is my peak evidence, like this moment is absolutely true. I've built my life around this is not safe. Now I need to create my own safety and avoid danger, which is the activity of unsafety. That's anxiety. The moment I see that that's not true, every instance of it is also not true. And so I look back and go, beyond my identity and then who I became, in reality with what actually happened, I've never been unsafe, even in those situations. And that produces a profound sense of safety, just without effort, without needing a practice. It's just a revelation, or you could say a realization or understanding. And then I go, well, then what would change in your life now, in your relationships, in your work, in the absence of trying to be safe, get safety, which pushes it away, or avoid danger, which creates more danger? Who would you be in the absence of it? And it's like, oh, I'd be inspired and curious. I'd go on more dates. Like their whole life opens up. And I only know it absolutely worked when I see them do those things. Because where the rubber meets the road is maybe even an old situation shows up that would typically bring it up. It will still come up as a choice. Our thoughts can't cease to exist. So maybe the choice will come up, oh, this is where I used to believe I'm not safe.
And even the physiological response.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the moment. Yeah. Oh, wait. Oh, this is that familiar thing. But I can't find any reason to hold on to it. It doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
All my evidence, the whole, layers of evidence and complex evidence that I created over the years, it makes zero sense. Okay, I'm not going to choose it. I can't find a reason to believe it anymore.
I see it. That makes sense now.
And then they have a new response.
Yeah.
And that might simply be, instead of defending, they just sit and listen.
So that requires profound awareness in that moment too. So it may take some practice for some time because you may...
Well, it's a tricky territory because practice implies like I need to practice at being myself or being aware.
Yeah.
So we don't want to turn it into a practice.
Totally.
Even that's too much effort. The practice is who I became when I believed the lie. That's me practicing being someone I'm not.
Yeah.
That takes energy. That's draining.
Yeah.
Being ourselves is the complete opposite of that. So it's actually undoing what we've practiced all the time.
So I guess rather experience.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. And it's something that will start to happen automatically because as soon as you have that experience and inquiry where your body's like, no, I can say this isn't true. And I don't have a fight in my body. That's what we look for. So it means my psyche and my body are now on the same page around this event. I can't experience it as a trauma anymore. It's just what happened without my story. So now I can see it and it's completely neutral. So the next time something like it shows up without effort, I'm going to be neutral. I might see the old ego come in, but it just can't grab me.
Yeah. You can see it.
It's transparent.
Yeah.
And so I just go, oh, it's that thing. And then actually I feel, wow, this is so empowering to have this same event, even if it's someone yelling at me and attacking me, because now I'm actually I'm myself. I'm getting to almost like reaffirm or validate the truth of who I am, even in this situation where before I couldn't. Like that's true power. It's not trying to change or control them or have power over them. It's you can even be that way, and that's not going to take me away from the truth. And that's me being responsible to you, not for you. Okay, so one more piece of inquiry. This is so good.
Yeah.
And that
hold it up again.
yeah, again. What's it called? Life Cider. I'm not a sponsor. I want to share this. I'm not a sponsor.
He is not a sponsor.
I just almost drank all of it.
He really just saw me drinking it and he was like, what is that? Can I try when I had some in the fridge? I actually want to share a quick aside on that because like it relates. So I did an episode a while back with Sean Wells from Update, And I will say this, unfortunately, Update has updated their ingredients and now has some other substances like sucralose, which I'm just not a fan of. I reached out to Sean and said, hey man, I can't really support Update anymore philosophically. And Sean's a great dude. He was like, actually, there's this other company that I work with called Life Cider. And so he linked me up with the creator of Life Cider, and all the ingredients are 100% organic. And then there's an energy version, which is the one that you're drinking, that has paraxanthine, which is the compound that was in Update that Sean formulated. So that's the energy version. I'm a big fan of Life Cider. And this is all unintentional. It was literally
all of this led to Life Cider. Like, this is what this whole podcast is about. We're doing an inquiry to realize the truth that Life Cider is.
Life Cider is the key to the truth, actually.
Yeah.
It's actually an inversion. Anyway, so, okay. Yeah, continue.
Yeah.
Continue.
I got a starting point. So, quick recap. ISI is, you could say, the process of seeing through deception and lies that we tell ourselves at the deepest level, seeing through the lies, rediscovering, if you'd like, remembering what's true. Then in that process, the old identity dissolves. And the things that you were looking for that the old identity would say is typically in the world or in a person or in an object, you start to realize they're here. I can't get more safe. All of the good, all the attributes of the good, they're not something I can gain, learn, or get. They are something that spontaneously arrive on behalf of my being, not my ego, we could say. So in the inquiry session, we have to specifically look for, where is the body saying, yeah, great, that sounds great mentally, but this is what happened to me. I was beaten, raped, bullied, neglected. So how is there love there? How is there safety there, right? How can I, everything in me is, fighting, judging, defending, attacking because of that moment.
Because at some level, you could say, especially at that moment, it was an appropriate physiological response.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was exactly what the physiology should do.
And then also possibly an appropriate psychological response. Or not, maybe appropriate is not the right
I'd
word.
say it's appropriate because it happened.
And maybe appropriate is not the right word, though. Maybe an understandable psychological response.
Totally, yeah. Yeah, especially,
word.
If you're 5 or 6 years old, it's always going to be what you've simply adopted, which is no real choice of your own.
Yeah.
But because it happened, it's valid because it happened. It had to happen that way because we can't change what happened unless we fight it and we suffer. So it's like, okay, that had to happen. Now we can get into relating to it differently, which ultimately has to lead to an entire shift of identity, which changes your whole way of being. In the inquiry session, we get contact with that, with the truth. And that's where you get these cascade of release. That's not true. It has nothing to do with me. Boom, the tears. I've been holding on to that for so long. Now I can laugh at it. Now I feel neutral. I had this one woman who told me in first grade, she was writing these love notes to a 9th grader. I was just in love with this 9th grader. And she would just send him love notes all the time. And the principal said it was his son, and came into the first grader's room and said, "You're harassing my son. You need to go apologize to him in front of the whole class. Tell everyone what you're doing and apologize to him." Talk about public humiliation and shame for just this innocent, adorable little, first grader. So she had to stand there and apologize to him in front of a bunch of 9th graders, and it was completely humiliating. In that moment, her story, her context was, I can't love people anymore. I can't open my heart to someone and love so fully anymore. And what was the other one? And I'm bad. So love is dangerous. What a context to live in. And I'm bad. She played that out. Now every relationship, it was like she's going to love but be kind of one foot in, one foot out. She doesn't want to let herself love too much. And then she would always produce evidence in relationships of her being bad. And then the other side of it was, okay, well, because he didn't love her the way she loved him, this 9th grader in first grade, while she was in first grade, she also would carry with her, okay, well, in my relationships, they're never going to love me the way I'm going to love them anyway. So why even go all in and fully open my heart? But since the first grader just really wanted the love of the 9th grader, she would always find where there was a lack of love in the partner, just like there was a lack in the ninth grader. So it'd be like, okay, can you text me more? Can you give me gifts? Can you say these words of affirmation? So she's searching for the love that she thought she never got from this ninth grader. And then that would cause her to be hypercritical, angry, judgmental, and that produces the badness. So you just have this same thing on repeat over and over for like 25, 30 years. And we got to the scene and she had to solve and first identify those identities, see that they weren't true. But then ultimately she could see that those two people were there to teach her about what love actually is and where love is actually found. So instead of, because even previous to the first grade version of her, there was some belief that, well, I'm only going to be loved if someone loves me the way that I love them. This was like the thought of the first grader, right? And then if I love too much, it's bad. So she learned that even before that event. So they came in, kind of mirrored that back. So now at 40, she can start loving again, not putting all that pressure and expectation on her husband, and just love him. And what happens 9 times out of 10, he starts wanting to show love more back to you.
That's what I was thinking the whole time, naturally. Yeah.
So she had to see how she was actually pushing away love and creating evidence of her badness, the more that she sought love and blamed the other. And as soon as she dropped that, she just realized, wait, I have a lot of love to give. The only love lacking in that scene wasn't the love I didn't get. It was the love I stopped giving for 25 years. That's the only love that's been lacking. Now I can give that love again. Okay, husband, you're the first beneficiary. So then on the ground, and this transitions into reporting, this kind of like, we do that in the session. The client will show me what resolution is. I never tell anyone what resolution is. And I do this whether I'm in a G&M context or just working with rumination, suffering, anxiety, constellations, essentially. So I'll ask her, oh, what would change in your relationship in the absence of he needs to love me in order for me to love him? Which ultimately underneath that was I'm not lovable as I am, like I'm not loved, and I'm bad. In the absence of those, what would change? Oh, I take all this pressure off of him. All these things that I said were my needs actually weren't my needs. They were the first grader's needs, right? They're not genuine. It was, well, I need this because it's the only way I can get love. But you've been spending 30 years trying to get love. That's the issue, not them not giving it to you, right? So after dropping all that, she's like, oh, I can just love him and he doesn't need to do any of those things. Now, of course, it's going to inspire him to do those things. But what I'll do for resolution is I'll say, okay, now go intentionally report on the truth that you found here with your husband. And I also call this the undefended self. So I'll say, go something like, I'll give a example, but then they'll go do it. I'll say, so I'll pretend to be her. And I'll say, if your body opens to this is safe for you. If it closes and says no, we got more work to do. So I'll say something like, hey husband, I realized ever since first grade, I had this belief I'm unlovable and I'm bad. And then if I really let myself love someone, they're not going to love me back. And I thought that that's where all the lack of love came from, but it was actually from me believing that I'm not lovable and that I'm bad. And I realized when I believe that, I make you responsible for me feeling loved. And I want you to do all these things that you will never do and that you always will end up disappointing me because I give you an impossible task. Make me feel loved all the time. That's the impossible task. And when you don't do it, I attack you, I defend, I pull away, I put demands on you, I put expectations on you. And if that's impacted you in any way, I'm sorry.
Wow.
I'm working on it and I love you. And I'll say something like that. And 9 times out of 10, there's tears because we've already worked through all the stuff in the body and they just go, I'm so excited to go say that. And they go do it. The whole relationship changes. And then that's when SBSs turn off too, because they're like, wait, I'm safe here. I'm not in the same conflict theme. So it's like the inner outer. We'll do the inner work in the inquiry session. I ask them, who would you be without it? They start telling me what's going to change in their life. And then I'll model and invite them to go right after the session, typically go start the business then, or go do the thing, go have this conversation that intentionally, it's like you living in this real, authentic version of you. Go live it.
Becomes less psychological and more apparent in reality.
Exactly. And it sometimes for the body, it might need that to just go, wait, I'm having an actual real experience with someone I thought was unsafe, but now it's actually safe.
Totally. I'm having an experience of this new, quote unquote, new me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they always come together. So if they can't do that, I'm like, okay, there's either more utility here. You still need it. You want this. You don't want to heal. Or we haven't got deep enough to the right context. And we'll just keep going until they can actually just naturally, it's not like, I'm so afraid of this conversation. I have to override it and push myself to have this courageous conversation. If you are in the truth, there's no fear. The truth doesn't hurt. The truth isn't scary. That's what fear, right? So if you're in it, you don't feel vulnerable. You feel invulnerable. Now you might have old stuff, come up right before it, maybe a little like, oh, this or that, but you're not going to get hooked. You're not going to get caught. You'll just witness it. You'll just watch it. The truth, the moment you enter the truth, you can't feel vulnerable. Vulnerability in its definition is like a structural, a lack of structural integrity in like a engineering sense. Oh, it's a vulnerable building.
Someone else, have you brought that up to me before in another episode?
Maybe.
Someone else has said that.
I don't know where I've heard it.
That just tripped me out, dude. Because someone else has said that exact same thing before on an episode. Reese, do you remember someone saying that?
Pull it up, Reese.
I don't know. Either that or I'm having deja vu. But someone has said that before. I'm like, yeah, maybe we need to stop using vulnerability. I swear that happened in another episode. Yeah. Anyway, but it makes so much sense, right?
Yeah, because think about it. Anytime you've just told the truth, there's no vulnerability. In fact, it's the most solid, invulnerable, immovable, because that's the quality of the truth. It's unchanging. It never changes.
It's if you can get to the point of saying it where there's like no emotion, not no emotion, but
there could be positive emotion.
Yeah.
There could be love or yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But it's not like charged in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how we do resolution work.
Amazing. I have a question related to parts work specifically. So let's say you're someone who is struggling with feeling perpetual victimhood. Let's say that you were beaten when you were a kid and you were actually victimized in that moment. You felt victimized. Your perception was that you're victimized. Of course, it goes into all the identities that you've talked about. It makes so much sense. But parts work would suggest that in order to fully heal, at least the way that I've learned parts work, and of course, there's always different variations of things, that in order to heal the perpetual victimhood that you're experiencing now, you actually have to entertain and feel the feelings associated with being a victim and even wrestle with and entertain the part of you that's like, no, I was a fucking victim and I'm mad about having been a victim in that moment. I'm angry. I feel betrayed. I feel like my boundaries were stepped on. I feel like my bodily integrity was set aside. All that stuff in order to fully heal the perpetual state of victimhood that you're in. What are your thoughts on that as it relates to this or just in general?
Well, so I think it points to a principle that I do think is true, which is you need to acknowledge the lie before you get to the truth. You can't skip that. But I don't think we need to take it to any extreme of entertaining or performing if it's not genuine. So it's not
of course, if it would have to be genuine.
It would be like, okay, now act, and I've seen this is like, now act it out and no, say, and like now people have this expectation of, oh, my anger and stuff, it has to look a certain way. It has to be really intense. Yeah. It has to, I have to scream. The rule is it just has to be genuine. If it's genuine and you're just acknowledging what's there, then you can actually get to what's on the other side. You can't skip that. So it's a way to not bypass. So I think that's fine. As long, again, as it doesn't turn into a performance or a right way or a wrong way. Or if you entertain, because again, we have to ask the question, what's the purpose of entertaining the emotion or let's say the character of the victim? What would be the purpose? And I'd ask you in internal family systems, what's the purpose?
The purpose is to ultimately open up that core wounding associated with that emotion.
To bring out the fullness of the emotion and then not fight it, resist it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's fine. And I would say, so in inquiry, our maybe third or fourth step, and it's not linear, it's, it flows, is immediacy. And that's as soon as we get into the scene where you felt like a victim, I don't necessarily, and it's fine. You can, do it that way, as long as it's progressing beyond the emotion. Like if it leads to a shift in identity, the change will last. If it's just an emotional process, you'll build up the tension over time, and you'll just have to return to do the release valve. But then your practice becomes build up tension, release, not a systemic change. So I forgot where I was going with that.
Well, I have a question related to that actually. Like, what about the concept that change takes time? And like, I've used this analogy before myself actually. So maybe if I'm incorrect, I'm calling myself out here and that's fine. But healing is sometimes like how a flower grows, where it's like a spiral, and sometimes you'll have to keep revisiting things, and you'll know that you're adequately, or what word am I looking for? That you're in the process of actually resolving it over time. If each time that you revisit that thing, that trigger, that track, whatever it is, it gets easier and easier emotionally each time.
Yeah. So I say the true measure of change isn't that our environment is changing or circumstances, or even, if you find, let's say I had, I'll use the yelling scene. So I was, dad yells, I get afraid. Now, every time I'm around someone that yells, I have that response, right? So even if I keep, we could say, attracting or encountering that scenario, it's like, oh, my life doesn't seem, the contents of my life aren't changing. But if my response to it changes, then I know I've changed.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting at.
Yeah. And so, it should be, I'd say, two ways to look at it. Number one is, if I respond completely 180 degrees opposite than I did when I was a child, then it's complete. There's no more than that. It's either I believe this means something about me and I react from there, or I see it for what it is and I authentically react. And that's no, that part of me is fundamentally different and changed. And then you have the, flip-flopping that can happen, where there may be some other contexts or identities that you still haven't resolved, or a little more utility in it, right? So it gets subtle as you do this work. It gets a little more subtle. And there can be a flip-flop, but what happens even with that is you reduce the time spent in the rumination and suffering. So it's like, man, before I could be mad at something that happened my whole week. It's like I'm ruminating, But with inquiry, that goes down. It can maybe go down to an hour, maybe minutes, maybe even seconds, where in real time, you're caught, you're hooked, you're pulled into something. You pause, you turn towards the identity versus towards the object, and it starts to undo itself. And okay. And that's not a problem. That's not chronic suffering. So I don't look at that and go, we need to fix that or change that or anything. That's going to happen to us from time to time. It's the chronic rumination and suffering that, is what I work with.
Yeah.
I don't think the acute stuff is just going to happen. It's going to come and go. Acute pain is going to come and go.
Yeah.
A reaction. But if the inquiry starts to work you, undo you, because you've been practicing that process, you've been turning towards what's true over and over, you might find it just starts to happen and you don't even feel like you're doing it. You just start to go, wait, is that true? Oh no. And it just happens to you.
Even if new circumstances arise.
Totally.
Yeah. That's amazing. I have a thought that I want to entertain. How do I even say this? What do you think is the purpose of the human psyche? Because when I have conversations like this, it calls into question whether there is any quote unquote positive aspects to the human psyche. Because it's this is all speculation, because I just interviewed Dita Young, who's a telepathic animal communicator, and she would say that what I'm about to say is probably not true. But it seems that overwhelmingly animals can experience a quote unquote traumatic event, and then they're not ruminating on it after the fact, which suggests that we have possibly as human beings some higher faculties. That's the part that she might not agree with, but that's okay. That we have higher faculties as human beings. And it seems to be more of a nuisance than anything positive. So what's the point of it all? And I say that sort of rhetorically, because I also know at a deep level that that is the point of it all, is to experience suffering for the development and growth of the individuated soul, possibly. Mm-hmm. But I just love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Okay. So I think mechanically, and are we talking about the psyche in general or the ego? Because usually the
ego.
Yeah. Because active psyche, there's a tree. We don't care about that. That's not a problem, right? So let's say the ego, and
that's creating stories associated with.
Yeah, that are based in lies that are causing you suffering and are causing you to probably make choices that then perpetuate.
Which seems like a fundamental part of the human experience, an innate part of the human experience. And that's what I'm
Exactly, yeah. So the way I see the ego is, it's like a diving mask. It's like scuba equipment. It's like I'm a soul. I'm beingness itself, and I want to plunge into a physical experience and I need a way to navigate it. I need the proper equipment. So eyes, my senses, I need to have a way of meaning making that simply allows me to interact with people and understand social norms. We call this like the super unconscious. So if I'm sitting in a restaurant, there's these agreements that I need to have just to have the experience, let's say in the country. And one of them is like, yeah, don't crap in your food. Go to the bathroom. Like that's appropriate. That's not appropriate. And that's going to just help me have an experience. Understanding the red light means stop because other people are going to come and go. Oh, I want to live. I don't want to die. So I need to understand that the red means, see the meaning making, stop. So I'm going to do that. What I smell, what I feel, oh, that's painful. I'm going to stop doing that. So it's just an interface because we can't have the ego without the body. There's no such thing as kill your ego. We have to not have a body because it's this way of interpreting reality and we depend on our senses to interpret reality. So I just see it as neutral equipment.
Got it.
Right? And when we give it a job that it's not designed to do, it turns against you. So it's like, okay, ego, now your job, instead of just interacting with right now in this present moment, define the past, control or anticipate or try to create a certain kind of future.
Yeah.
Look at the equipment, scuba equipment.
Makes sense in the context of, like you said, a red or green light, because if you have that past association, it is useful in the present moment.
Exactly.
But then if, like you said, you're using those same mechanisms, that same equipment to then create associations that are perpetuating your suffering.
Well, another example is if I give my ego the job to find safety for me.
Yeah.
So the ego goes, oh, how do you find safety? Just avoid people that yell. And now every time someone yells, I don't feel safe. And I'm never going to be in a reality where people don't yell. So I'm never going to find safety. So any job, any characteristic that is innate to my being, when I assign that job to ego, it pulls me more away from those characteristics, but it's promising me those characteristics. It's promising me the safety, but it can only create more fear and anxiety. It'll promise me love, connection, but it'll only create more disconnection and, loneliness and sadness. So that's the trick. Anytime you give it a job that's impossible, you'll prove that you can never find or feel or get the thing that you're looking for, because the ego will always give you an impossibility. It'll say, oh, the only way you can be loved is if you are the smartest, funniest, best looking, whatever it might be. And it's never going to happen. Mm-hmm. So if you give it a job it can't do, it's going to give you a job you can't do.
Isn't that ironic? I'd love to talk now about your perspective on non-duality at this point in time, and then your perspective on Christ and Christianity, and then say possibly how that relates to all this. Because let's just say this, the Brandon Bozarth I knew 5.5 years ago when I met him was very immersed in non-duality, as was I. And I still am to a large degree, just in a different way, I guess you'd say, which I'm still sort of teasing out myself, because you and I both share a love for Jesus Christ, and I would consider myself a Christian. Now there's a lot of nuance with that statement as well, and a lot of asterisks and things to sort of explain with that.
Yeah.
But I would consider myself that. And yeah, I guess I just love to hear your thoughts on that, having bridged the two worlds in some way.
Yeah. So I guess I'll start with non-duality. So the core assertion of non-duality is, it's not necessarily an assertion. It's what's discovered through the neti-neti process, which is what is foundational to our experience is beingness itself. You can't remove it from experience. Everything depends on it. All of our beingness, our individuality, all depends on this background of being. And that the nature of that being contains things like peace, love, freedom, joy, connection, love, all the things that we look for in the world, right?
Which is interesting because epistemologically, again, even if you go through a completely different lens, epistemologically, the only thing that you can prove with 100% certainty is experience happens.
Yeah, exactly. And non-duality says experience and being therefore are the one and the same. And so we go, okay, now let's look over to Christianity, because it seems on the surface, at least for most people, as the New Age to Jesus buzzword, that it's not necessarily compatible with non-duality, or that it implies some sort of dualism, especially with relationship to Jesus as a man, right? So
and good and evil.
in good and evil. Yeah, exactly. The devil, Satan, light versus dark, right?
Yep.
So you have the, it's biblical. I don't remember exactly where it is in the Bible, but in the catechism. So something I revisited recently was Catholic theology. So and Orthodox. Okay, let me go back to some of the longest standing theologies here, 2,000 years. What do they believe, right? And you find what's very central in the Catholic and Orthodox theology is their definition of God is not dual at all. Even if there's a Trinitarian aspect, it says word for word, God is not a being, but being itself. I think it was Thomas Aquinas, ipsum esse, I think is how they say it. God is not a being, but being itself. Later it says God is love, right? And so you have this quality of, no, God's not a being, but being itself. That being is love. And so we go, is God, in this room? The answer is a yes, and this room couldn't exist without God. So of course, that's the omnipresence, right? All knowing, everywhere, all things. But it's not located in this room. I can't define it. I can say, yeah, that part's God and that part's not, because that would be me trying to limit the infinite. And this is also why our physical minds can't grasp the infinite. We can't shove infinity into a finite space, into mind. That's where Jesus comes in. So if I want a relationship with the infinite, that's a misnomer. I can't relate to infinite. Where's the start and the end of infinite? There's no being to relate to.
Yeah.
So you have Christ, which is pure being, pure God, you could say, love, completely unaltered in any way. You could, sinless, whatever you want to say. I mean, there's a lot that I could reference there, but you have this perfect imago, right? Image called the Son of God in the Son that we can actually relate to. There's a body that, the story of Jesus Christ as an actual historical figure, which I do believe he's an actual historical figure. There's way more evidence for him than Buddha. There's way more evidence than him than Krishna. I mean, it's wild that that's the only one that gets attacked. No one's attacking the validity of the life of Buddha.
Right.
So
it's also interesting, like in the truther circles, like the adherence to this sort of zeitgeist movie-esque depiction of Jesus, which is a story that's been told over time.
It's called mythicism.
Yeah.
Completely debunked.
Yeah.
Mythicism is debunked because, number one, every myth that they compare it to, and I forget the fallacy, you might know it. It's where it's like throwing a bunch of darts somewhere and then drawing a, what's it called? Like a target around the darts.
Yeah.
And going, oh, look what all of them have in common here.
Yeah.
But then the one or two things they don't have in common literally make all the difference, but they only focus and they draw a circle around the ones that they have in common.
Totally.
So, a death and a resurrection, but no resurrection or majority of them weren't physical. A lot of them, like Horus, resurrected in the underworld. Some of them resurrected and they had totally different body parts.
And who's to say reality isn't fractal and there couldn't still be aspects like that are literally, maybe those are genuine, true stories that actually occurred. Maybe they're completely fake stories, but nonetheless, like that doesn't mean that Jesus didn't actually exist.
Yeah. Because even if it does follow a mythos, an archetype, then great, it follows an archetype. It means nothing about Jesus' life, death, and resurrection.
Dude. And believe me, I went down those rabbit holes, and like, not only did I go down those rabbit holes, I fully entertained them to the degree that like, I thought for some time, like, yeah, maybe Jesus didn't actually exist. And I was okay with that. I've come back to this position through my own genuine exploration. And I'm also not tied to this. I could find out one day that Jesus didn't exist and I'd still be like, okay, wow.
Because the result of it, at least for me in my personal life, is timeless. It's not based now in if he physically existed or not, because the living relationship can't change unless I were to decide, oh, now it's invalid, or, unless I were to do something. Yep. So back to the kind of the non-dual Christian world here is like Christ being the imago, the image of God, purely and completely sinless, absolute unconditional love. His incarnation is, okay, let me go to a fallen world, which again, I like to use the idea of the fall as an ongoing happening versus a singular event, because how could we prove? It's very hard. This was the absolute fall. This is where it started. It's kind of like, let's find the origin of trauma. It's like,
totally.
So the ongoing fall is any moment that we're deceived into believing we're someone we're not.
Yeah. Would you say that that's an innate part of this reality?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I would, okay.
And I would just
agree with
say, without getting esoteric, just in my experience, it's innate because it happens to everyone.
that. Yeah.
So I haven't seen one exception,
Right.
except for Jesus, that we're all going to believe some lies. That feels like being a rubber ball that's squished. That creates a urge to expand that pushes us in a certain direction of life. Then we get to learn about the truth and the good. And a lot of us actually need that squishing to be motivated to move in that direction. And so it seems like that is a common theme, and our biology follows that, because the more that we learn about what's true and live in it, we literally heal. So the motivation is also biological, right? The more you get into the truth, your passion, your inspiration, we know that all of this is good for the biology, right?
And isn't there another definition for sin that is like lacking understanding or something like that?
So there's missing the mark.
Missing the mark, yeah.
This is a very common one. Deeper into the, not epistemology, etymology would be to live outside of your design. So we go, and we just observe it in your own experience, because my non-dual brain, I always have to go here. Who am I when I'm not believing? And I can name the lie. I'm not good enough. I'm not this or that. Well, number one, I'm present, right? I'm here. I'm curious. I find myself being inspired about things, and I don't necessarily decide what those things are. I can't force you to be excited about plumbing tomorrow. Be like, just turn on a bunch of passion about it. No, I discover it. So I go, oh, wow, I feel called here. I feel moved here. And I just start to naturally say yes to it. And I go, well, if I didn't decide that, I can't place passion into my heart about something, then I'm in this process of discovering this design, and it just so happens to be really good. And it can be really fun and fulfilling and joyful and synchronistic and magical. And when I follow that design, it's good. And that's the God is good. When God created the world, he said it's good. So when I'm living in my design, I do experience good in the world, good in people, because I'm not in a context. The only time it's not good is when I'm in a context, in an identity. And that's 8 billion different worlds, because we have 8 billion different identities, right? So when I'm actually in the world, not my world, I realize it's good. And that's all of this is already in Genesis. So we already have the cause of suffering, believing a lie about who you are. Then we have, what is true about who you are in creation? It's good, right? And we have Christ, which is the imago Dei, right? The image of God, fully alive to its fullest degree in a human that decides, okay, I'm going to go to the darkest part of humanity where people have forgotten who they are. That means they're not going to know who I am. So they're going to attack me, judge me, humiliate me. It's completely unjust. I don't deserve it. I'm the most innocent human God man to ever exist. And I'm going to respond with, forgive them, they know not what they do. Not only that, but I'm going to let them kill me. Theocide is the word, to kill God. It's the highest sin. You can kill me. I'm getting chills. You can kill me, and my response is going to be, forgive them, they know not what they do. I could be nailed to a cross, and genuinely the most horrific, it's the limit of pain and suffering against the limit of love and compassion. And there's no other choice from love and compassion but to love that. And that's like going to the deepest, most traumatized part of the human psyche and going, there's light and perfect love there. And you don't have to do anything for it. You don't have to earn it. I'll come to you. Don't come to me. God, you don't have to search for me. I'll come to you. And what does that say about you as a person? And I think people don't ask the question, what does the cross say about me as a person? What must that say about who I am? And so it's this, even there in my most disconnected, dark, depressed hours, there's actually the fullness of God and love right there, unless I turn away. But God will never turn away. Just like in the garden, I'll turn away when I believe the lie and I have to cover up, and now there's shame, because who do I become when I lie to myself? Shameful, bad, wrong. But God looked for me. I turned away, but God was still looking for me. And so there's that unwavering, eternal love played out in a hero's journey that we can all understand. And nothing speaks to the human mind more than a story. So it's God going, look, you've turned away from me. You don't know truth. You don't know love. You're not living it. You're fallen. So I'm going to bring the fullness of it to you. I'm going to run after you. It's like all the worship sounds are coming in my mouth.
If you listen to this show, you are probably well aware that there's something seriously off with our modern food systems. And even a lot of food labeled organic isn't what it seems. Some of it's shipped in from China where regulations are murky at best, and other times companies slap the USDA organic label on while cutting corners and doing the absolute bare minimum in order to achieve that label. That's why Dr. Cowan's Garden exists. Founded by Dr. Tom Cowan, they believe health starts with food. Real food, the way that it's supposed to be grown. They call their sourcing beyond organic, which means they're working with small family-run farms who are going above and beyond the USDA organic label when it comes to growing their food. These farms care deeply about soil health and nutrient density, and some are even biodynamic certified, the highest farming standard in the world. At Dr. Cowan's Garden, they use proper processing techniques that humans have used for thousands of years because they actually work. Nuts and grains are soaked or sprouted just as traditional cultures did. Olive oils and apple cider vinegars are never heated, preserving fragile nutrients. Olive oil is protected from light because oxidation matters. The list goes on and on. The products at Dr. Cowan's Garden are made to be deeply nourishing and also incredibly delicious. Foods that you actually enjoy eating and foods that make healthy decisions actually feel good. Dr. Cowan's Garden is not about fads, it's not about fear, and it's definitely not about following government health recommendations. It's about reclaiming a simple trust in your food. If you value transparency, tradition, and food that respects both your body and nature, head to drcowansgarden.com or just head to the show notes and use code THEWAYFORWARD for 15% off your first order. Welcome back to Real Nourishment. Dude, it's wild because for me, that verse, I've actually shared that verse, Father, forgive them for they know not what they do, while he's literally on the cross after he has been whipped, tortured, after he carried the cross up Calvary, after he asked for water, was given vinegar, was mocked, humiliated. And to say that, like I've shared that in multiple presentations lately and multiple events I've spoken at, that exact verse. And I always cry on stage when I'm bringing it up because it is the best example of love that I have ever heard of, like by far. Like there it is unmatched in terms of like still finding love and compassion for the people who are actively doing all those things to you in that moment is incredible. And that's God.
Yeah. And that's why it requires so much humility, because you have to admit, I can't do that. I've never actually been able, like if I go to my history, I've never perfectly been able to love everyone and everything. And so and that's I think where the new age gets it wrong, is like they think they need to become that.
Right.
But the difference is I need to actually let that love in first, that I didn't deserve and earn, and I can't deserve or earn it. And then that's the thing that's going to give me the ability to love more, not my own power, strength, conditioning, not my will.
Yep.
The complete end of my will that happens, that untangles in the presence of God. That's what's going to give me the strength. That's when I am weak, he is strong. That's going to do it. So it's also a permission to just surrender your will and go, my conditioning, it doesn't work. Like this is where it's got me, and I need something else, right? And I think that's healthy to completely humble yourself. And this is why I'm not opposed to the word worship. I'm all for worship. The most powerful I ever feel is when I'm on my knees. The most love I ever feel is when I'm, just like at his feet. And so for me, the non-dual piece is like, it's another paradox, just like Christ, fully man, fully God. What's the paradox here? When I enter into a relationship with Jesus, I'm entering into a dualistic relationship that brings me into a non-dual experience, because it's perfect love, and love is infinite. Love is non-dual. There's no edge. There's no limit to it. That's what blows you apart. And so it's like saying, hey, I'm the door that no man can shut. I'm the emissary in between you and God, which is a colloquialism. We can't be in between God. God is here, but we veil ourselves. But now we have a person. Like, how compassionate is that? Hey, I'm going to give you someone you can actually relate to. They're going to have a story. there's going to be history, there's going to be a personality. Like, you can relate to it. And as soon as you stop fighting who he tells you are, you'll enter into my presence again through him. So it's like, here's a process to stop having a process of looking for me. But we require often, most of us, the process of actually, wait, what does it mean to have a personal relationship with Christ? Well, it means if I was there on the day of the cross, and if I learn about his actual life and story and who he was, that if that's how God feels about me, then everything I believe about me must be bullshit, must not be true.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of effort to try to hold up your ego in the face or in the midst of God's love, because it's so overpowering, right? So I don't know if that answered the question.
No, dude, that answered the question. I would say, damn it, Brandon, you made me cry. I mean, dude, it's a weird thing. Like, anytime I talk about Christ, especially like the image and the depiction of him on the cross after all that he went through, and that verse is my favorite verse in the Bible by far. Like, because it just carries.
Can I tell you what one of my favorites?
Yeah, I'd love to.
I think it's Romans, or no, not Romans. It's John. I think it's John. The Roman soldiers were sent to get Christ, to take him to the cross, right? He was just sold out by Judas. And the Roman soldiers walk up and they say, we're looking for Jesus Christ. Is that you? And he doesn't say, yeah, that's my name. He says, ego I me in the Greek. And sometimes that's a reference to just I am, plainly. But other times in the Old Testament, it's a reference to God's name. And so he says, I am, and all of the Roman soldiers fall to the ground. So what's happening there? I am that. I'm incredibly powerful, right? It's like, I could just say my name and you fall to the ground. But I'm going to let you take me because I want to go. So it's like, he's like demonstrating, look, this is of my will, not yours. I do not have to go with you. It's badass, right? I do not have to go with you. Just my name will bring you to your knees. Put me on the cross. And then you have, what are they, two thieves? I forget their crimes, but you have two people also being hung, right?
Let's look at my arm real quick. I have the depiction here. I don't know. No, I actually do.
Do you actually? Oh, okay.
Yeah, dude, I have the crucifixion scene on my arm.
There he is. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yep.
One of them is like, yeah, I don't believe in you. You know, if you're the savior, save yourself right now. And then the other one says, I believe you are who you say you are. And he looks at him and he says, well, truly I say to you, you'll be with me in paradise. Like, just one moment. Yeah, like one moment of coming to a deeper truth, because Christ is the only person that, based on your definition of him, defines you back in the deepest sense. So for that person to say, no, you are this, you are God in flesh. There's no difference between the essence of you in this body and the essence of God. They are one and the same. And you're doing this and you're forgiving them. His identity is already shifting. He's going, you're doing this for me? I'm guilty. I'm an actual criminal, but now I'm having the revelation of who you are. And he said, yeah, that's enough.
Yeah. Just the acknowledgement of God. That's it.
It's the end of using your free will to not acknowledge God.
Dude, this
you can't override it, because that's not loving.
I was actually going to bring this up next, funny enough, is free will and destiny. So I've come to the perspective that free will is anything that is not God's will. And that's like the paradox and the irony is that if it's perfectly of God's will, it's not your choosing. You're not choosing it. It's a natural byproduct of you getting out of the way of yourself and letting God pour through you. Free will is arguably in alignment with the definition of sin that you brought up, right? That is like missing the mark or not living in accordance with your design or like God's intention for you in the context of your design, right? That's what I think free will is. I think free will is anything that is not God's will. And if we're perfectly in alignment with God's will, it's not even a choice. It's naturally God pouring through us.
Right, which the paradox of that is we actually feel like we do have a choice.
Yeah.
When we do it.
Yeah.
Because we don't feel constricted. Oh, I can do anything.
But in hindsight, though, in most cases, you're like, dude, I don't know. God was just pouring through me there.
Right, exactly. Totally. Yeah. It doesn't feel like you're doing it.
No.
Right. But that doesn't mean there's like a loss or a lack. It's actually opposite. There's a fullness.
There's a freedom.
Yeah. Total freedom. And people dip into this all the time. They're working out and they lose
I was just
track.
thinking Kobe Bryant, dude.
Exactly,
Like Kobe
exactly.
when he's in his full.
This is not like a mystical thing.
No.
This is every day people are losing who they think they are. They're like their persona, their ego for a moment, and they feel connected, present. Time flies by. It's like the fact that saying yes to who we're designed to be is self-fulfilling, doesn't depend on any results, outcomes, or anything, means that that expression itself is the point. To live there is the point. Because we actually, when we're there, we feel needless. We feel like we don't need anything else, right? So I would agree with you in the sense that, most of our free will is used to negate the truth about who we are and then to use effort to be someone we're not. And that feels like an activity of the will because it's tiring, exhausting, and we know the will is finite. So yes, I would say, and I'll just go to my direct experience, I agree with you on, okay, I have this design. There's things I feel totally inspired by and passionate about. Can't change it. I can either resist it and suffer or say yes to it and flow, right? And like move towards that. So there's a track. It's like a train track. I'm on this track. It's gonna go in that direction. Now I can fight it and resist it all I want, and I'm just gonna suffer on that track. That's fine. I can say yes. I can not fight the track. Now I would say my free will is I can decide where I'm gonna sit in the train, who I'm going to chat to, just like me and you doing this today, how the passion and inspiration is expressed specifically. I'm a dancer, or maybe it's this song versus that song. It's like, I have free will in how I want to express it, but the draw, the inspiration, the passion itself, I can't control it. That's there. It's discovered, not created. And so I would just sprinkle in a little free will on the like creative how.
I would agree with that.
Like, oh, this is exciting, but I could also do it this way. And they're both, I feel like they're both exciting. And then I get to do, oh, well, how do I uniquely want to express it? And when it's in alignment, then there could be many different ways that you do that, like a dance, for example, but you're still in that core thread of passion and inspiration.
You're still oriented towards that city on the train.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most of us just aren't aware of it. Aren't even aware that we're on a train. We're like trying to wander all the way over here. And it's like, no, you're on this train, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the other side of the healing that a lot of people don't talk about is like, you do a lot of inner work, but it has to actually translate to the other side of the coin, which is you're not in desperation. You're not trying to avoid a future because of an unreconciled past. The future is no longer the fear of something bad going to happen. So it's infinite possibility. Now there's inspiration and curiosity. And what's natural is to say yes to those things. It's actually natural. It's not normal in our society. It's like get a job. So
big difference between natural and normal, or common. I'd like to say common versus normal.
Yeah.
Things that are common are not necessarily normal.
No. So the translation of, is this healing journey working for me, is you have to be saying yes to these things that are inspiring, passionate, that you love to do for their own sake. Whatever that creative, curious, inspired expression is in you, you will naturally start doing that more and more. It doesn't feel like work, doesn't feel like effort, but it is the other side of the coin.
Well, and also like the questions on, well, what is the utility of this? Why would I do this? Why should I spend my time doing this? All those go out the window because it's just like for the sake of doing, an inspiration to God.
Yeah.
Literally, that's why. Like going back to, for example, the I don't want to go off on a huge tangent here, but like the whole Tartaria millennial reign, like rabbit hole. But like one thing about those buildings is the way that I look at them invokes a sense of awe and wonder in me, to where like even the Texas state capitol, I think it's the largest state capitol in the United States. I think it's even bigger than the White House, if I remember correctly. Like viewing that, especially through this new lens, it's like, what? And you can't help but think, okay, the people that built this weren't building this because like, oh, I need to build this because the government's going to occupy it. They're inspired just for the sake of building. That's it. That's it, man. It's obvious.
And that's what, like in hindsight, people go, oh, that's a leader, that's a genius, that's a whatever. No, it's just a person that's not in a context, that's able to do the thing that's natural to them. And everyone has their version of that. And when everyone starts to do that at once, then everything will be synchronized. I mean, everything that I am inspired to give, there's going to be someone that needs it at the time that I need to give it. Because it's a perfect system. Just
I got to share something because you like, You totally would have been there, just knowing our journeys and like our history. I didn't know you in your previous lifetime, but you and I have talked about our previous lifetimes enough to like know.
The boss.
Yeah. Old Alec that got this tattoo of lips on his hip would have been best friends with him. So I was sitting in my basement in between summers at West Point. Obviously at West Point, it was a military academy. We weren't supposed to do any drugs. I did shrooms a lot because they couldn't test for those.
A lot.
Unless they had like probable cause, then they had to do a spinal tap, but even those are shoddy. Anyway, I was doing shrooms at home with two of my friends in the basement. My two best friends growing up, Brian and Cameron. And we were sitting there and we're silent for a good, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes, just like in our own deal on the mushrooms. And Brian just pops up out of nowhere and goes, dude, why is it that the guy who is inspired and just really likes tinkering with like pipes and plumbing, why doesn't he just become a plumber? And the guy who likes traveling just travels. And the guy, you shouldn't have to pay for someone because the guy who likes flying different places just flies the guy who likes traveling. Yeah. Why do we have jobs? And I was like, dude, I've still thought about that to this day.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's on the money.
He's on the money.
Because if everyone did that, everyone would have what they needed when they needed it. Because I've never seen an unfruitful act of inspiration because there isn't one that it can't exist. It's fruitful by its nature, just to the individual. It's fulfilling. You learn, you grow, you feel connected to everything. You lose track of time and space. You feel free.
Yeah.
So there is no such thing as like unfruitful inspiration or passion. Like it has to lead to something good. Everyone that does that, there'll be a kind of synchronizing that happens. And the only jobs and money, it's like that's there because of fear, because we're in identities that say, no, my safety and security isn't in beingness. It's in somewhere else. It's in an object. I'm not going to have what I need. So we need to pay people and convince them to give me what I need. And, hopefully we resolve all that stuff.
Yeah, man. Wow. It's cool though how ISI ultimately, that could be a whole, like you could do a whole financial masterclass on using ISI.
Totally.
Yeah. That's amazing. It bleeds into every aspect of our life because it is fundamental. Like our identity is literally everything. It's everything. It makes so much sense.
But just as one more tangent on the Jesus piece.
Yeah, please.
Non-duality, Jesus. So I just want to complete this. The gospel, it's the story of the absolute limit. And this is when Jordan Peterson broke it down. I was like, this makes perfect sense to me. There's the limit of evil to the degree that let's kill God, right? And then there's the limit of love, which is go ahead and do that. Nothing's going to keep me from loving you. Nothing's going to keep me from running after you, being tortured, whatever it is. Nothing's going to keep me from that. My love, the truth is unwavering and ever changing and unchanging. And I'm going to demonstrate that because it's the only way that your psyche is going to be able to understand it in relationship, right? At least let's just say at that time in that context, I'm going to be a lived example of the love because I'm meeting you where you're at so you can actually receive it, right? So then what happens? Well, they kill him, but he's untouched. He resurrects, 3 days later, he's more light than body. He's completely untouched. He's fine. So number one, it's the darkness, fear, lies, has zero power over love unless you give it power, right? So without you giving the let's say the darkness power, it can't do anything to you even if you die. I mean, that's because beingness is not affected.
It says a lot about what's going on geopolitically and with the turmoil and chaos in the world. It's like, I've said that so many times too, man. They only have the power. Like people don't know the depth of what I am trying to indicate because I guess I don't articulate it well enough in that statement. Like quite literally, they quote unquote only have the power that you give them. And they isn't even a physical they. It's the Watiko, if you want to call it that, like the spirit of darkness, Satan, Lucifer, whatever. Like it's that only if you give it to them. They can't create anything either. Like the only thing that they can do is trick us into using our own co-creative capacity to give them what they want. Like even at the level of bombs dropping in the Middle East, those are ultimately men and women who are saying yes and giving authorship, their co-authorship to be able to do those things, pushing the buttons. Like it is other men and women doing the bidding of that evil entity. And if you stop giving it power, it can't do anything on its own.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we take to another level. We've never given them power. We've given them the illusion of power. So for example, an inquiry reveals this really directly. If I'm afraid, let's say, of government oppressing me in some way, and right now I'm just man sitting in a chair, and I'm fearing the government oppressing me, who's oppressing me right now?
You're oppressing yourself.
It's me, it's my psyche.
Yeah.
I'm imagining a scenario where I'm oppressed and I'm just actually just sitting here.
Yeah.
So if I go, oh man, I'm giving them power, I'm not even giving them power. I'm in power. It's my power you turned against me.
Yeah, dude.
So it's like, no, let's don't even go to the step of like, hey, take back your power from government. Realize how you've been misusing your own power against you.
Yes.
And that it's actually had nothing to do with them the entire time.
100%. Snaps to that.
And if you have the power to do that, you have the power to do its opposite.
Yeah. Boom. That's it. Boom. Bombs go boom. That's messed up.
That's your new tagline.
That's the title for this episode. Bombs go boom. People are like, start listening. We're talking about emotional stuff.
Yeah.
They're like, wait, what? Okay. I don't think I have anything else that
the last thing I'll just say about Jesus for the listeners. Just for the listeners.
That's 100% me. I've gone off on tangents.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I love all the tangents. I think what happens too with the Jesus conversation is it gets mixed in with religion. Yeah. Okay, now we have to follow a set of rules, I'm not going to dive too much into that, but what I want to mention is like Jesus, people make a category error a lot of times. So it's like, oh, Jesus, Krishna, Buddha, you kind of lump them all into the same category. So in my view, why is that a category error? Because none of them were, well, a lot of them, Buddha and Krishna, yes, but like, let's say other mythological figures too. Okay. Many of the mythological, they're just mythological. They're not historical. None of them predicted their death, died, resurrected, and have witnesses that they actually resurrected on earth. And none of them, at least from my knowledge, have claimed, or the eyewitnesses have said, oh, they've been absolutely sinless. So living a perfect life, you could say. So although there can be similarities, compassion, experiences of unconditional love, even types of resurrection, maybe it's a spiritual resurrection, these are fundamentally different categories. And so I don't subscribe to the Christ consciousness and like, oh, Christ is just like an ascended master like Buddha and Krishna. No, you're looking at what they have in common, but what makes the difference actually makes all the difference. And when you look at that, you go, wait, this is a totally different category. This isn't just a wise teacher. This isn't even just someone that performed miracles. Many people have performed miracles, right? This isn't someone that just, was really great at forgiveness and taught a lot of great things. It's a different category. There was a real death that's well documented. The Pontius Pilate stone and the different, what do they call historians at the time? And you have a resurrection, and you have a sinless life. There's no other historical figure that has those components to it. And why I think this is important is for me, with my analytical mind, I had to first at least be on like the 51% of, okay, Jesus probably lived and that actually probably happened. I had to get there to consider the implications. And that's when I was in my apartment and I was just in the lowest low. This is like fallout. We had a little fallout for a little while. Another group of friends, my past relationship, I had like over $20,000 basically stolen from me. I wasn't sleeping. This was probably 6 months maybe before I met my wife. I'm just in my apartment and I'm just sitting there. And it took me a year of doing research and reading books and looking at, okay, is it possible that he actually lived, died, and resurrected? Because I just want to know what it means. Like, what would that mean if it was true? And I finally got to the place where I was like, okay, I've seen enough. The evidence says this is probably what happened. And I sat in a chair and I just said, I'm not going to get up until I know what that means, like the cross means. Like, what does it mean for me, God? What does it mean for me, Jesus? Like, please tell me, like, what is it? I don't get it. Why is everyone point to the cross, point to the cross? And I just sit there and I'm quiet and I'm in like kind of, I'd say a combination of desperation, but also humility, where it was finally like, I'm just open to being wrong. What if I've been totally wrong about God and who I am, and therefore everything else that flows downstream? Because look at where I am. I'm the common denominator, So I just sat there and I just asked, like, just show me, just tell me, what does it mean? And I just felt a presence come into the room, and it was so loving it was just unlike anything that I've ever felt. And I just started bawling, and I just started feeling this, it's like an answer that you can't put to words, right? And I remember I just stayed in that for like an hour, just crying, just letting it wash over me. Thank you. It's like it's two things at once. It's like the first time I felt real unconditional love, and it's the most familiar thing that I've ever felt. Like so deeply personal. And I think that's what the New Age can miss, not even the New Age, even the non-dual space can miss, is I can tell someone, hey, do you know you're just consciousness, you're beingness, you're love itself at your core, and they're not going to be moved.
No.
But a human being who's going to voluntarily suffer and doesn't have to, and is going to do this, I just want to give you the ultimate expression of love for free. Kill me, humiliate me, I'll do it anyway. Nothing will stop it. To have that kind of encounter with feels like an actual person, feels so personal, was totally different, right? There's one thing to say, you are love. There's another thing to say, you are loved. And that speaks to a very animal, I feel like primal earth part of ourself that says, the first one, I can get it, maybe through neti, right? I can feel the peace in that. But the love, for me at least, that brought me to my knees, that was like, no, I really am loved as a person, not as a concept, like as every part of me, as I am. I don't have to change. I'm in this like low, isolated. I feel humiliated, ashamed of my life, like all of my decisions. And there's love right here for me, just as I am. It was like, then I didn't care about the history. I didn't care about all that stuff. And yeah, to me, it was like that. It doesn't get more non-dual than that, but it's non-dual with this personal flavor, this relational flavor. And that doesn't mean it's not non-dual. That doesn't mean it's a contradiction. That means it's what the psyche and the senses may need to get into that state and know deeper who we are.
Yeah. Well, on the I am loved versus I am loved, in the context of this physical experience, which is purposeful, like as we navigate it, yes, when you do a deep meditation or like 5-MeO DMT or something like that, you can get I am love. Like you really have to contemplate on that though for a while. Within the context of this experience though, it can be very abstract versus I am loved implies that there is love directed at me, especially in the moments where I am not feeling and fully comprehending that I am love. That is incredibly helpful. Like it helps you reignite the aspect of, oh, I am love.
Yeah.
I am love.
Totally.
Because I am loved unconditionally.
Yeah.
And I'm sharing a being with that which loves me. So I therefore am to love.
Yeah. And this is why I think I like a lot of the Orthodox, some of the early Catholic saints and whatnot, they would call that theosis, which is union with God, feeling, they would describe it as eyelash to eyelash. That's what it says in the Greek, the translation. Or Christification is a cool word, which is, okay, the more that I'm in contact with that love, the more loving I'm going to be, the more Christ-like I'm going to be. So it's interesting because a lot of the New Age principles are there in the early church, but they just can get a little, they take Christ out, they take God out in the sense of they replace God with the ego, not with beingness itself. So one distinction I make is like, I don't, let's say, possess my being possesses me, right? So Brandon, this body is happening in being. It's not the other way around, but in the New Age, you could flip that. You could be like, no, but the I you're referring to is your ego, am being. And it's
everything is occurring in my mind.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So it's a possessive versus a submissive.
Are you familiar with pantheism versus panentheism? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I take more of the panentheism approach to non-dualism in that it's hard to articulate. I am one with God, but I, in the context of this life experience, am not fully God. I'm not fully God. I'm not omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, omnibenevolent. I'm not those things. Can I draw upon that? Yes. Can I actualize the power of God, which I'm inextricably linked to through my being? Absolutely yes. But I am not God in the context of this life experience. But at the same time, I am, right? And that's the paradox. And that's the paradox of duality versus non-duality. Like, I believe this reality is fundamentally non-dual. I've had experiences that clearly indicate that it is non-dual. And I understand that this illusion of duality serves a purpose, and it is purposeful. We're supposed to have this experience of duality. What I'm trying to get at though is it's like, if you take, not everyone who does, but a lot of people take the pantheistic approach, which is like, I am God, which at its core is true and is a part of panentheism in a way, it can lead to you developing this ego complex, this like spiritual narcissism, and also lead to you manipulating other people with this spiritual language. And any time that you commit a trespass against someone else, it's like you can throw it in a cloud of like the non-dual rhetoric, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to know, I don't even like the term I am God. Like, of course, I would never say that. I know you would.
No, I wouldn't either. I can't even.
No, I can't say it.
I can't bear to say that, dude.
No. But if someone were to say that, they'd have to live a life like Christ. They'd have to be completely sinless. And all it takes is a little self-honesty to go, no, I lie to myself.
Yep.
I blame, project, deny, avoid, like, no. So knowing and doing are synonymous. So when someone makes that claim, if it's not how they're living and people can put on good acts, it's just meaningless.
Yeah.
It's just a thought. It's doesn't hold any weight, right? And this is why I love really having a relationship with Christ, and why I think so many, especially in the spiritual world, need to have a relationship with Christ, because it keeps you humble. Mm-hmm. It's okay to acknowledge people have problems with this, especially in like, if you get too far into A Course in Miracles and that becomes like ego-y, it could be like, oh no, we don't want to make Christ special. Well, there's a difference between special and an actual category difference of a unique expression of God. Same with
the law of one, by the way, which I still resonate with deeply in many of its principles, but like it says that Jesus is just one fifth density entity. I'm like, no, dude.
Yeah.
No, I don't resonate with that at all. Like, not even a little bit.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, if you make it, it's like, no, I don't want to make it special, because then I'm going to create distance. I'm not going to be love. You know, if there's separation there and he's special and I'm not that, that's lack in me. No, it's humility.
Yeah.
It's just honesty.
Yeah.
Are you sinless? Yes or no? No. So you're not the same. Sorry, you're not. It's just, that's it. It's done.
That's it.
Maybe in the essence of your being, you both share being. You're both, Christ in his physical form, let's say, is depending on beingness, aliveness from God, right? Father, you could say. So yeah, we both are being, we are extensions, or have a beingness extended to us from God.
Yes.
But this is purely God. And it shows. And we are not that. Like, and do we have the potential? Of course,
of course. I would say that's the caveat too.
No, yeah.
It's not that, like, even Christ said multiple times that would like
do greater things than I.
Yeah, exactly.
Realize I'm in you as you are in me.
We absolutely have the potential to
100%.
be just as he was.
Yeah.
But
you don't have to build an identity around it now and pretend you are that.
Right. 100%.
Because as if it's a spiritual goal.
Yep.
That's ego.
Yep.
A spiritual goal. I need to be more spiritual. How about more honest?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not that, and it's okay, and I'm working on it. Yeah. And guess what? That's humility. And what did Christ do? He humbled himself. He took the lowest position, and the highest took the lowest. Let me be born in a manger. Let me spend 33 years. People think 33 years, oh, he went to India. You know how many times it's been debunked? I can't stand that argument. I don't know if you ever get frustrated with virology stuff.
I still entertain the possibility that he went somewhere in Asia, but I don't, there's no direct evidence of it.
Yeah, exactly. So is it possible? 100%. I have to just look at the evidence.
It's pure speculation though.
And I have to conduct a historicity, like an actual framework. Eyewitnesses, internal evidence, external evidence. You have to look at all of that and go, what's most likely? We do this on what happened yesterday. We have a framework for all history. So you have to be honest there. Maybe it's possible, but I like this way of seeing it. He lived a normal life as a carpenter, just a human working hard, nothing special, not performing miracles. He wanted to show there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing lacking. You don't have to be X, Y, and Z. There's a dignity in just working and serving and being a friend and a family member and building things. Like, that's spiritual because God's doing it.
100%. Bro.
Right? Like, let's let that be enough.
Yeah.
Instead of, no, he's a yogi, now I'm going to go to India and become You go ahead. You're going to listen to this podcast, and at some point you're going to go, yeah, I was really searching. Yeah. Really searching, seeking, and seeking only creates more searching and seeking. Yeah. Never ends. And I think Christ is the ender of the searching and seeking, because you encounter a love that goes, in this love, I want or need for nothing.
Yeah. 100%, man. Oh, I love that so much. Because I reflect on so much in the spiritual new agey space that there's like actions and attributes associated with what's spiritual, which implies other things aren't spiritual. It's like the mundane of life isn't spiritual. It's not overtly stated as such, but that is what's implied in many of the cases. And it's like, no, dude, life is fundamentally spiritual, even down to me being up at 3 a.m. because my baby's been throwing up and Kylie's really just burnt out and tired. Like, that itself is also spiritual. Every bit of it is spiritual. The whole life fundamentally is spirituality. And the second thing that I'll say related to the idea that Christ went to India or anywhere in the East, which I still entertain, by the way, but that also presupposes that he needed to go learn some new stuff from some other
which
people,
would completely
insane.
Change his identity.
Yeah, exactly. I think that he already knew all that stuff. He didn't need to go there. Like, basically, my entertaining it is related to the possibility that he went there to share his message and gifts with those people there. Not that he went there to learn.
Not the other way around.
No, he already knew all of it.
Yeah.
Like, he was fully like God actualized into a human being. He didn't need to go learn from other people.
Yeah. My question would be, the people he learned from, why aren't they in history?
Yeah.
They would be doing miracles. They'd probably resurrect if they taught them all that.
Yeah.
Where are they in history? These would have to be exceptional.
They could have been taken out of history, though.
Totally.
They could have been.
But when it's that exceptional, it's hard to take it out of history because of the impact. If there were people that witnessed that kind of thing, it would be pretty hard to erase something that spectacular. If they were just like Christ, I would say that'd be my assertion. Yeah.
That's a really good point. Man, I'm really stoked about where this conversation went. Like,
Same.
I love talking about Jesus, man. So can you just share a little bit about like what you're offering in terms of ISI? By the way, I don't think we've actually established what ISI stands for throughout this entire episode.
No, it's Integrated Somatic Inquiry.
Okay.
And basically what it means is, we've rumination, or I either use rumination or symptoms in the body to follow what scene I need to work with. So we have integrated. Integrated is I'm using often the psyche or the body, soma, the somatics in your body, to find that shock, that trauma, people will call it, that's repeating. And then in the inquiry, which is to expose the identity, question it, see that it's not true, see there's no utility, and then experience who I am without it. The only way that works is if your body's on board. So it's not intellectual. So I don't work with your perception. And we listen to the body until you can genuinely say with your whole body, is that true? No. And there's no fight in you. So I'm not, because we can lie to ourselves easy. We do it all the time. We deceive ourselves all the time.
Also, the more powerful the being, the more cunning the mind.
Oh, wow. That's a good one.
A mentor of mine shared that to me. I'm like, yeah, that's very true.
Sounds good. It's true.
Yeah. It rung true inside my body.
Yeah. So the somatic pieces, you have to be able to say no and your body not fight, because if the body fights, you're just playing mental gymnastics. Right. So the requirement is honesty, it's willingness. And I have to bypass the liar and listen to the body. So that's why this question, it's so simple, but so profound. Is it true? Yes or no? There's no other answer. Even if they say no, that's a question, right? No with a question mark, or maybe. Okay. I know there's still a fight. The body's saying no, I have proof, I have evidence. So the inquiry goes until that knot, and that knot you could carry for 20 or 30 years, completely opens. And when that knot opens, the psyche is also open. They're the same. So psyche open, body open, psyche open. So that's I say integrated somatic inquiry, because it's integrating the body and the psyche kind of in this dance.
Got it. Awesome. And for those who are interested in either A, experiencing it, or B, like learning the technique themselves, what offerings do you have?
Yeah. So I'm not taking one-on-one clients anymore. I have a school called Bio School. So it's a combination of German New Medicine and ISI. And then we talk about like biological relating, biological parenting. We do classes on minerals, really unique approach with minerals with a woman, Anna. I don't know if she still goes by the Health Inspirer on Instagram. So she'll talk about minerals through a GNM context. So based on your SBS, like let's say you have a kidney program, then give them a little potassium, release some of that sodium just to get some of the water out and reduce the edema. So it's like these really specific, nuanced approach with minerals that takes into consideration GNM. And we have 5 or 6 other teachers, family constellations, other people doing inquiry. So it's, probably like 10, 12 calls a month that are going on in BioSchool.
Awesome.
$67 a month, super cheap. And then I'm now focusing on an ISI facilitator training. So this is something I came to maybe 3-4 months ago. I had an apprenticeship. I'm just finishing it next month. And out of everything I was doing, I was like, this lights me up more than anything. Then I had my own fear come up. Oh, what if I slow down on the GNM side a little bit? People are starting to know me for GNM. Am I going to lose that? I had all my own stuff. And I had to really sit in that, do some inquiry, take my own, medicine. And I just decided, all right, I'm ending these programs. I'm transitioning from one-on-one work. I light up teaching this work, especially to other facilitators that know the language. And we do things where like they'll bring their client on and we'll have like 10 facilitators and I'll put people in front of the room and they'll take them through inquiry. And then I'll make everyone else the first line of defense, like the mentor. So if they get stuck, they come in and then I'll come in last and we'll do client review sessions. So they'll practice inquiry on their clients, bring the review, we'll work it there. And then I'm also just putting them through their own inquiry process and doing like relationship inventories. Okay, what do I need to reconcile still from my past, from my parents? Like, let me clean all that up. And so now I have a year-long, just finishing the first cohort. I have a year-long facilitator training starting next month. And then it ends in a retreat in Scotland. And I just realized...
Of course you do a retreat in Scotland.
My beard literally gets more red when I'm in Scotland.
Of course
Natalie said, she's like, your beard is more red here.
Of course.
And
That's where y'all got married,
just like,
right?
Yeah. I is yes, and Scottish, like I. Yeah.
Wait, no, you got married here, but you did a second.
And fasted.
Okay.
In Scotland.
That's what you did.
Yeah.
Because I was at your wedding. I was like, no, I didn't go to Scotland.
Yeah. So that, really excited about that. I love retreats. I haven't done retreats since 2023. So really, or 2022, really stoked to get back into those. So
epic, man. Epic. Man, this conversation was so rad.
It was so great. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
I knew it was going to be good. I was so excited last night and this morning. I just started, where are we going to go?
Yeah, man. It's one of those because like I feel like I know you at such a deep level and like I've met you in so many different contexts now and like different points in our life together. I consider you a dear brother, but I didn't feel like I had to prepare too much for this one because it's like I just know this is going to be an awesome conversation either way.
Yeah, man.